3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Can Patrick Mahomes catch Tom Brady? Yeah, that's where we're starting today. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So glad to have you on the CBS Sports Radio morning show. For people who don't think that Mahomes is going to be closing in on Brady, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is why sports keeps going and keeps evolving. It is hard to crown somebody the GOAT in the moment, Perloff, but it's undeniable the track that Mahomes could be on, especially if he wins this Super Bowl in Las Vegas. The calls about him eventually catching Brady, they're going to be there. They're going to be loud, and everyone who brings it up is going to be in the right to do it.
So when you say catching Brady, do you think that Patrick Mahomes is going to win that many Super Bowls?
I think that he'd be on track to do it. Why would I deny him that?
On track means nothing in this sense. The question is, Are you going to define this? Because he's not getting to 7, Maggie. It's not. I don't care if he's on track. Eli was on track to come close.
Come on.
The on
Eli
track
couldn't win a playoff game outside of those Super Bowl
right, but
runs.
just the on track is really meaningless because you're saying to me that he's going to have a second half like Brady, which is completely unprecedented. The fact that Tom Brady improved as a quarterback after winning 3 Super Bowls, nobody does that. And Mahomes, unfortunately, has nowhere to improve to. He's already unbelievable. I just think that what had to happen to get to 7 Super Bowl rings, there's no way that can repeat.
Okay.
So maybe Mahomes catches him in public opinion, but he's not catching him in Super Bowl rings. No way.
Well, I got news for you. He's already caught him in public opinion on who's the most talented quarterback, because I think if you polled 100 sports fans on the street and said, not who's the greatest quarterback, who's the most talented quarterback, I think you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, I think, would already win that poll.
Yeah.
And so he's already caught him in terms of that part of the public perception. In terms of the 7 Super Bowls, see, I don't want to try to conflate this argument, and I'm not trying to get it to be more complicated than it needs to be. But this is the same Jordan versus LeBron argument that all the Jordan haters hate. Because people like me, or excuse me, the Jordan lovers hate. People like me who bring up LeBron and I bring up his longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And you will tell me as a Jordan person, that's not fair in the argument. Because we're not talking about longevity, we're talking about peak. And if you talk about peak, you have to give it to Michael Jordan. You have to apply that same thing with this Mahomes and Brady conversation. Because is Mahomes going to play 23 years in the NFL? I mean, the odds are probably rather slim that he's going to get to 23 seasons. But will his peak be greater than Brady's? I got news for you. We're already watching his peak be better because Brady, to be fair, was a better quarterback in the last 13 years than he was in the first 7 or whatever.
So it's different, though. Michael Jordan's not just a peak guy like Terrell Davis, who had 3 great years. I mean, he dominated the sport for a decade. So it's not like a little peak. That makes it sound like he just was a flash in the pan.
I'm not
to some
saying
extent.
that, but Brady's first 3 Super Bowls, who really gets? Well, those were more defined by who? Belichick and the defense.
By the end of those 3 Super Bowls, I mean, he got into the 30s by the end of those 3 Super Bowls. So it wasn't like, I understand the first one was more Belichick for sure. And I think the second and third, a little still leaning Belichick, but Brady was getting better. Here's the thing, though, about the Jordan-LeBron thing. Like, nobody's saying because LeBron played to 40 and is still, like, that can't be part of the argument. I don't even hear that he's greater than Jordan because he's going to score 23 points a game when he's 41. Like, that's not part of the argument, is it?
It
that longevity
is.
Brady's longevity is not like that. He's not just producing. Brady won Super Bowls. It's a much bigger accomplishment than what
just
LeBron
went
is
to Western Conference Final. It's not.
It's
he
a
hasn't
much
fallen
bigger
off.
Yeah, but everybody. It just feels to win a Super Bowl is such an enormous event. I think we're just. It's such an incredible achievement that the fact that Brady did it, I think you're underplaying how significant it is to get to 7.
No, what I'm saying is I'm not downplaying the significance of getting to 7. I just think that Mahomes could do it in a more condensed period of time.
Yeah.
There was an entire decade in the middle where Brady went to 2 Super Bowls and lost to Eli Manning and had like 2 very different parts of Super Bowl sort of runs, if you will.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's any way that the Chiefs keep this up to get to 7. That the one thing and regardless of legacy and who is the greatest and opinion and stuff, just this idea, it's so many things have to go right to get to 7.
Yeah.
And Kansas City, we don't even know if they're going to get to 3. They're an underdog in this game and then do it again and again and again. And Mahomes is a physical player who gets injured a lot and just so much has to happen to be right. I just can't see him having a Tom Brady-like run. And I mean, for obvious reason, that's a lot of Super Bowls. Even if he wins this, there's 4 more to go.
I get it, but you're denying a couple things that we have now seen, and it's playing out in front of us in this very season. Who thinks that the strength of the Kansas City Chiefs team right now is the offense? It's not. The offense got shut out by the Baltimore Ravens in the second half of the AFC Championship game, and they still won. Partly because Baltimore totally blew it, but also because the Kansas City defense is better than it's ever been in Mahomes' era. And he's realizing that, and he even told you on the podium as he's raising whatever they call that trophy, Lamar Hunt, I don't know, AFC trophy, said, all I had to do was just not lose the game. All I had to do was play the game I'm in. That's intelligence. That's game plan. That's smart. That's not his physical tools.
Yeah.
That's not him having to go out there and rush for 50 yards in a game or make all these crazy throws. He managed that game in the second half. you can win in a variety of ways. We've seen Mahomes win 2 Super Bowls where he has to be at all-time great and had the ball in his hands against your Philadelphia Eagles in what became a shootout. And we're seeing now that he's probably going to have to rely on the defense. Just because Brady did it a lot of different ways doesn't mean Mahomes can't do it in a lot of different ways either, even though he's the more talented quarterback and has the better skill set.
Chiefs had 2 good offensive drives on Sunday.
Yeah.
And in both of them, Mahomes made plays that Tom Brady couldn't even dream of making, where he was running around the little flip to Kelsey.
Sure.
That's so Mahomesian. Yeah, I mean, he still
What
made
happened in the second half?
Well, like Tom Brady, he just let the defense win the game. It was kind of felt like the 13-3 win over the Rams.
He can do that too.
Yeah,
Mahomes can do that
but the
too.
Chiefs defense is not that dominant. I mean, honestly, they're not the Patriots defense. They're not the Ravens
They
defense.
just took out the
They're
best
good.
team in the league.
Do you really think?
By statistics?
Yeah, I mean, do you really think that this Chiefs defense is going to win 4 more Super Bowl rings? I don't. See, that's the thing. There's just too much that has to come together, and I just think that we're never going to see. It was a lightning bolt that the Patriots were able to do this. It's also a matter of competition. There's a lot going on. I'd be shocked if they get to 7.
Okay, but you're globbing on to like this team, that team. It's going to have to change. It's already changed with the Chiefs. They were an offense that was based on Kelsey and Tyreek Hill until they traded Tyreek Hill and won another one. Now they're a team that's based on defense and less on offense. And they're back in the Super Bowl, and it's basically a pick-em between them and the 49ers. Who knows what they're going to be next year, and who knows what they'll be the year after that. They've got Mahomes as the bedrock of what they're doing, and then you can build 100 different ways off of that. Like, Kelsey is going to retire at some point, and they're still going to be great.
Yeah, they'll definitely be great. But this is going to be like the Patriots. He's going to win 3 early. There's going to be a break. Something's going to happen. And then can he redefine himself and have that many years of excellence? I think it's nearly impossible.
Well, I can't say that because that would be denying everything that I'm seeing in front of my face. And why would I do that when I'm watching it with a guy who technically has more talent than Tom Brady? Now, is he going to have
a lot of guys have more talent than Tom Brady.
Is he going to have the adherence to his diet? Is he still going to have the will to win? Is he going to have the motivation? All the things that could creep in after you get success at the professional level? I think the answer is yes. I don't think that Mahomes right now, he says all the right things. I don't think he has a rival right now. He has vanquished, besides Joe Burrow, who got him once, he has vanquished all comers. And his rival right now is Brady, just like LeBron's real rival was Jordan, even though they weren't facing each other head-to-head. And I know Mahomes and Brady did face each other head-to-head, but this is like he's going to be chasing Brady now. He's not worried about Josh Allen. He's not worried about Lamar. He's not going to be worried about Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. And there's all these great quarterbacks, but where are they right now? They're all sitting at home watching him play.
I feel bad for you.
Why?
Because you're going to run into what I ran into with Jordan LeBron, where these youngsters are going to come up and there's going to be a Brady, Mahomes is going to end up with 4 Super Bowl rings. Brady will have 7. And you're going to have to explain to them how great Tom Brady was because they weren't there for the Jordan titles. It just means that the whole body of work, obviously to me, Jordan was greater than LeBron. The whole body of work, it's so far ahead Tom Brady than anyone else. I just think we're going to get caught up in the moment. And Patrick Mahomes could do what Tom Brady did, do a little 3-peat here. And by the way, they're underdogs. Let's keep that in mind. It's by far not. It's not done, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And much like Brady, there's going to be a lot of close Super Bowls. Just so much has to go right. And yes, I think he'll keep a good diet. I think he's an outstanding quarterback. He has all the skills. So much around him has to go right to get to 7 Super Bowls, and I just don't see that happening.
Well, listen, not everything went right for Brady. There were a lot of things that went wrong. There were a lot of things that broke not in his favor, and then a lot of things that did break in his favor. Right. It's a long career. And for Mahomes, who's on this track and, barring any kind of, knock on wood, any kind of devastating injury, I mean, he's already in front of Brady. If you want to talk about their first 96 games each that they've both experienced, Brady's first 96 versus Mahomes' first 96 regular season, Mahomes is blowing them out of the water statistically. If you want to talk about their first, their playoff games, Mahomes has got him. He's not going to have him with the counting stats. Obviously, Brady is 23 years in the league, but he's got him in terms of all the rate stats.
I mean, is he the only quarterback who has Tom Brady in rating sets? Of course. I mean, the numbers are gigantic these days. Tom Brady came in before the rule change in 2000.
Well, he was there for everything. Brady was there for before, during, and after all the rule changes.
Yeah,
he played in 3 different eras.
He was basically a 28 touchdown guy. Then they changed the rules and boom, 50. So he's, this is a different era. I'm sure there are other guys who have much bigger, if you're going by career where they were 5 years in, much bigger numbers than Brady.
Okay,
a lot of guys.
Brady didn't win his first MVP until his 8th season.
I don't care about MVP.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you, you're asking me for evidence. I'm giving it to you.
I understand.
And then you're saying I don't care about it.
I agree the pace is amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. It's just that second half of Brady's career that's never going to happen again. The fact that he was able to hang around and the Patriots were able to be so far ahead of everyone. Why would you think the Chiefs are going to be able to do that? I just don't see it.
Well, because maybe Mahomes doesn't have a decade lull in the middle, where he doesn't win any Super Bowls. Maybe it's not just going to be Brady where it's like 3-3 or something like that. Maybe this is something that happens in a more condensed form. That's what I'm saying.
By the way,
Brady had this long lull because, a lot of reasons.
It is funny how close these Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes, 2 Super Bowl wins.
Yeah.
One, it's because of that crazy sting play to Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
They could have easily lost that game. And last year, they could have easily lost to the Eagles. And they'll probably be in a super dogfight this year.
It
feels like a bounce here and a bounce there. It's so hard to win Super Bowls.
Why do the bounces keep going his way so far?
Not really. I mean, he lost. He
lost to Brady.
He lost to Brady and he lost to Burrow. The bounces sometimes it's going to be just like Brady. They're going to go his way and not go his way sometimes. There's so much parity in the NFL, probably even more than when Tom Brady entered, that it's going to be impossible to get to 7.
So the other part of this, too, is you just had the storyline of can they do it on the road, right? It had been enjoying all of these AFC championships at home. Can you do it on the road? They just proved that doesn't mean anything. They went in, they beat Josh Allen. First of all, at home, they did outlast. Obviously, they beat up on the Dolphins team that didn't want to play in minus 30-degree weather. But then you go into Buffalo, and despite Buffalo's injuries on defense, they tried to haymaker them in the beginning. They tried, could not last, could not ultimately get it done. And then they just completely, they toyed with the Ravens. Like Steve Spagnuolo, and I think the Ravens had something to do with it because they weren't prepared. But Spagnuolo just he was running circles around Todd Monken and around the Ravens. That was not even, that was like a clinic. They just did it on the road. They just checked another box. He just did something again that people were wondering, could they do it? Yeah,
we're talking 7 Super Bowls, Maggie. That's one game against a team that has done nothing in the playoffs ever, by the way. I understand, the fact that you're talking about Steve Spagnuolo's performance against Lamar Jackson. That does not go from 2 Super Bowl rings to 7 Super Bowl rings to me. It was great. And it's just such a thin margin to me, just the amount of things that have to go right. And I don't think Patrick Mahomes plays effectively to 43 like Tom Brady.
I should have finished the thought. He goes on the road and wins, and people are saying this is the worst team he's had. And offensively, this is the most uninspiring team he's had. And he goes on the road and beats a Raven team. Let's not rewrite history on the Ravens team and how high everyone was on this team this year. That's no small thing. And as we got closer to the game, people got even higher on the Ravens and higher on the Ravens and higher on the Ravens. And what happened? They go in and they beat him. He answers at every turn. And honestly, this game was more about the defense than he was about Mahomes.
Okay, you're right. They knocked out the Ravens by Tom Brady.
Not saying bye. We'll never say bye.
They beat the Ravens 17-10. You're looking at a small snapshot of a career, and the problem is Tom Brady's career just went on for so long and he won so many rings that I'm telling you, the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, this is not going to last. Maybe they redefine themselves. 4 more rings, assuming they win this one.
Yeah.
It's just way too tall a task for anybody in the modern NFL.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. Let's get it going here. We're talking about Mahomes, his true rival being Tom Brady. I don't see why he wouldn't get there. Look at what he's doing. To me, we don't know how. I don't have a crystal ball. But if I'm talking about trends, it's smacking you right in the face. 855-212-4CBS. We've got tons to do. EJ's back today. Back from the Royal Rumble. I'm sure you've been updating Pete on all the details.
I was supposed to be entering 31, but they said it was only 30 men, so couldn't get in there.
Shoot. Next year.
Yeah, next year.
855-212-4CBS. So much to do, including the one person who is reportedly ticked off about how the coaching cycle has gone. We've got that for you. We've got so much more. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. All sorts of arguments, discussions, debates. I feel like it's hard for me in my role to be right about everything here because Maggie is
Sure.
Maggie thinks that Patrick Mahomes is sort of I think you could describe it well on his way to matching Tom Brady as the greatest of all time. Not well on his way, but the trends are pointing that way, and you think he's going to get there.
I mean, he's more on his way than anybody else.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's definitely true.
I think that we always say, oh, this record will never be broken and that record will never be broken.
Right.
And I think we've just been proven over and over in sports it's not really true. Now, I always thought I thought it would last a really long time, and maybe it will. Now, here's the other part. We'll get to the phones, but does Mahomes have to win 7 to match Tom Brady? Because, again, people already think of him as the more talented quarterback.
Yeah.
I think most people agree about that. But does it have to be 7 for him to be considered on the same footing?
Well, I think that is the real debate. To me, I mean, it's a long-term bet here, but I would be so comfortable betting he doesn't get to 7, or especially he doesn't beat 7. It's just way too narrow a line that so much has to go right for that to happen. So I think you're right. I think eventually, if he gets to 5, people are going to be so much more talented than Brady. But so is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was 10 times more talented than Brady. And everybody can run better than Brady, and a lot of people can throw better than Brady. But that's not what we're talking about here in the GOAT argument.
No.
So I think that 7 Super Bowl rings is a fair measurement, and I don't think anyone's touching that in our lifetime.
And let's think, I mean, not just won 7, played in 10.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys don't count losses in finals because you always say because Michael Jordan went 6 for 6 that LeBron just getting to finals and losing is not an accomplishment at all.
We got out of that fearsome Eastern Conference back in the day.
Saying.
He beat Orlando. Oh, wow. What an achievement.
Brady going to 10 also.
Well, Mahomes also goes to a lot, too, because he went to and lost.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I understand the connection. I just think that we're underrating Tom Brady in this argument. I think we're underrating his incredible achievement.
I don't think we're underrating it. They can't be underrated. It's just looking at the facts. And one of the facts is that Mahomes on this track. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. Brian is in Seattle, has a thought on the coaching aspect of this conversation. Good morning, Brian.
Hello.
How's it going?
So if Andy Reid wins this Super Bowl, do you think he retires? And I've got another question after that.
I don't know why you would. Why not keep it going?
Do you have any notion of Andy Reid with hobbies or anything to do? Have you ever seen him do anything but football?
There's a food joke there that I'm not going to make.
Right. Eating is not a hobby. He
could take up cooking.
I don't know. Take up cooking hamburgers.
Be short
Watch
order
people eat.
Short order cook.
Yeah. By the way,
how hard it is to make nuggies?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not exactly like he's a French chef. I can't picture Andy Reid knowing his way around a kitchen except eating.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I do have one quick question because I'm from Seattle.
Yeah.
Who do you think the Hawks are going to pick up for their coach?
Well, that's a great question, Brian. Thank you so much. Because it felt like Dan Quinn was on his way, but now they've opened it up for Brian Johnson and Mike McDonald. Yeah,
and is it Vrabel still floating around in the ether there? I think any team that can get Ben Johnson should throw a Brinks truck on to me, he's the number one guy in this coaching cycle, which will, whenever anyone in the media says that, they end up to be the worst. That's generally the coaching.
Well, here's a question. What if I told you that Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, had full carte blanche to go for it on both fourth down calls that have been much maligned and was the one responsible for running the ball on 3rd and goal? 3 big topics of conversation, 3 moments from the NFC Championship game that are getting crucified in the public.
I could care less, because what Ben Johnson did was, did you see the lanes Jahmyr Gibbs was running through? Did you see how wide open Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown were? I want that in my offense. It just feels like his offense has so much space to move and operate. Reminds me of McVay. I would, if the Eagles could have gotten him, I would have dumped Sirianni in 2 seconds.
Okay, but you think that the Lions can't win a Super Bowl until they get rid of Dan Campbell. What if you found out it was Brian Johnson who was actually ordering the code red, so to speak, on all these fourth down plays?
I didn't say they can't get rid of Dan Campbell. They can win with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's just got to stop doing this. He's got to kind of mature as a coach.
I don't know if he's going to do that.
Well,
but again, I've defended the fourth down calls. If you found out that it was Brian Johnson, if you found out that he was the one, Ben Johnson, if you found out that he's the one who wanted to run the ball 3rd and goal, would you have a problem with it?
No, I don't care at all. Because
all right, then blame the players for losing instead of blaming Dan Campbell and the offensive coordinator.
It's kind of like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. If you are a dominant offense, you're going to give yourself a lot of shots. And he just reminds me, when you see a new offense, it's so exciting. And come on, you don't want him? Your Bills. Look at your Bills. I know they just got Joe Brady, but if Ben Johnson was available, I assume everybody would jump on him as an OC.
No, but I know how one game can change people's opinions about especially these coordinators, because it's happened, I think, with Bobby Slowick, who was the Texans offensive coordinator, who was one of the hottest guys out there, and then they laid an egg in the second half against the Ravens, and his name cooled off a little bit. Well,
Slowick refuses to pass on first down. It's infuriating, absolutely. So, yeah, I don't think Ben Johnson's cooled off. They scored 31 points against a good team. He's hot, I would imagine. I want him. And Vrabel, on the other hand, too. I mean, what am I missing here? The Eagles should have hired Vrabel's awesome. I guess he just wants total control of the building. So people who have jobs in Seattle are going to be like, I'm not sure if I want this guy, because he'd probably fire them all.
David is in Arkansas, also has a question about Andy Reid. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
You got it, pal. What's up?
Well, my problem is that I think that Andy Reid, because of what he has assembled, is putting Patrick Mahomes in the positions to win. But Andy Reid's probably going to retire in the next few years as age and health concerns come up. But also on health concerns, we saw what happened when Patrick Mahomes was suffering from turf toe, and they got demolished by the Buccaneers. And mobile quarterbacks seem to not last this long, and that's part of the reason why Tom Brady had his longevity. Much like Larry Bird with the Celtics,
right?
He's not in the greatest of all time conversation because he didn't play that long. Even though the Celtics under Bird swept Jordan's Bulls twice.
Right.
Jordan never won a game against Bird Celtics.
What I would say, David, and it's a fair point, I don't look at Patrick Mahomes as a running quarterback. I think he's a guy who moves around a lot, and yes, if he has injuries, it's going to hurt. One of the reasons he lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl is because his offensive line basically was completely decimated in front of him. I think it's hard for anyone. And couldn't Patrick Mahomes take his game to a different level where he becomes more of a timing quarterback, where he's just getting the ball out fast, which is what Brady did to overcome for his offensive line mistakes or lack of talent?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think he's done some of that in his career, but that special sauce of Patrick Mahomes, I do think of him as quite a mobile quarterback because he moves around so much in the pocket.
Maybe mobile, but not running. Josh Allen's a running quarterback.
Even so, if you take some of those scrambles out of Patrick Mahomes' playoff history, then the Chiefs don't win some of those games. I mean, I think when he needs it, he will run for a first down. And he had a big run against Buffalo as well down the sideline. I think he's way more mobile, and the injury history is interesting. Like he feels like he always kind of feels like he's limping a little bit.
I think that's just the way he walks.
Yeah, I think it is the way he walks, but he has been obviously. So he couldn't really run in the second half of the Super Bowl and just tore them apart. So he's obviously proven he can do it from the pocket. But if you take away that little special sauce, is Patrick Mahomes really so much better than everyone else? I kind of doubt it. I think it's a thin margin.
Also, does Andy Reid have health concerns, or are we just?
I have no idea. I mean, 64.
Yeah, I mean, Belichick's 72, and he's ticked off that he doesn't have a job this year.
Andy Reid, 65.
Could he coach for 7 more years?
Well, listen, you're gonna give up the day if they hire Matt Nagy. I'm sure you could drop this argument like a rock.
Well, what if they just elevate Steve Spagnuolo? Then maybe I'll be back on board.
Really? I don't know about. I feel like Andy Reid does something magical with play calling. I don't get it. He doesn't look like a genius.
They didn't score a point in the second half. This was a Kansas City defense performance.
What he did in the first 2 drives against Baltimore was shocking.
Yeah, and
that was shock and awe.
It was funny because how Michael Lombardi, the former GM, put it. He said, and then they ran out of plays.
I mean, he did the 15 plays against Baltimore, the best defense in the league. That was so Andy Reid. It felt like Baltimore didn't know where they were coming from. I'm like, have you watched any tape on this team?
855-2124-CBS. See you guys on the phones. Get back in a moment. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got some headlines.
Mom, Dad, good morning. Those headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance.
Did you catch a game last night?
It happened again last night. Another LeBron James, Dylan Brooks run-in. This time they were going after a rebound, and Brooks knocked LeBron on the side of the head. Maybe going for the ball, maybe just a karate chop. LeBron stayed down for a few moments as usual. Brooks got a flagrant 1 as usual. And then James would not discuss Brooks postgame.
We were here early in the year. We asked you about Brooks, and you said, next question.
There was also Brooks.
How do you know someone's sensitive?
Yeah. Well,
I haven't seen the video.
LeBron.
But you said LeBron stayed down. I'm assuming you're implying that he might have been over-dramatizing it.
He's known to do that, yeah. Might have tried to sell a call or two.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he fell down like he had just gotten a chair over his head at Royal Rumble.
I want my damn respect, too.
I mean, he fell.
That was not the only run-in this game last night. Dylan Brooks, hard foul on Jared Vanderbilt. A few minutes later, he got Vanderbilt to take 2 techs and get ejected. His Rockets won the game, 135-119. Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün combining for 65 points. The Sixers smartly kept Joel Embiid out last night in Portland to make it look like he wasn't dodging Nikola Jokic in Denver over the weekend. Philly sacrificing its 3rd straight loss, 130-104. Scoot Henderson had 22 points and 4 assists for the Blazers. Victor Wembanyama, 22, 11 boards, but the Spurs' 2-game win streak ending with a 118-113 home loss to the Wizards. Domantas Sabonis had 20 points, 26 rebounds in the Kings' 103-94 win in Memphis. The Celtics rallied in the 4th to beat the Pelicans 118-112. And it's the Cavaliers that cool off the Clippers.
Niang drives the baseline to Allen, put it up. Good, and a foul! Listen to the roar from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Yes, let it wash all over you. Tim Alcorn, Cavs radio. Jared Allen had 20 points, 17 rebounds in the 118-108 win. The Cavs have won 10 of 11. The Clips had won 5 straight. This is just their 5th loss in 27 games.
There's a bit of a battle royale kind of brewing in the Eastern Conference for that number 2 seed. Cavs playing awesome, Knicks playing awesome, Sixers when Embiid plays is playing really well, and of course you got the Bucks. Like, I'm wondering what's going to happen here because I thought the Cavs were done when Evan Mobley got hurt and when Garland got hurt as well, but they've been playing fantastic.
How important do we think the 2 seed is?
What's the difference? Basically what you just described, 2 through 7 are all the same team, and Miami's probably going to win any of these series.
They have to win the play-in tournament first.
Those are brutal series, though. Well, I think they could all go 7 games.
Yeah, all those teams are basically the same, and if you want to try to avoid playing probably these teams that aren't, you probably want to play one of these playing teams. So getting that 2 seed is going to be important in that front because then you get Orlando, maybe Chicago, as opposed to playing against Indiana or Miami. So like that 2 seed fight is going to be brutal.
Wait, can I defend the Sixers for 1 second about sitting Joel Embiid against Denver?
I don't know why this story has become as big as it has, but yes, go ahead.
I am not using my best player in that altitude and getting them all tired for the rest. This is perfect use of load management.
Getting them tired. It's January.
There is nothing. Honestly, nothing means less in a game against the Nuggets in January. Yes. Why do anything out of the normal? Why stress out the body of your superstar, your entire franchise, playing in that environment? It would have been
idiotic.
This
is why people hate the NBA, right?
Also,
the regular season should matter.
This is also why the Sixers are soft because of stuff like this. Because when other teams are playing normal, it's Perloff, and it's probably the Sixers' point being like, altitude, Joel Embiid, you got a little boo-boo, your knees a little sore. Don't worry, you don't got to go up against Nikola Jokic the second time. Go sit down, have a little rest. But in the playoffs, when it gets really tough, and you expect him to then be a dog, and you're saying, how come Joel Embiid doesn't play this way? Well, maybe you stop babying him for 82 games. Maybe he will play different.
Okay, so for some reason, LeBron can have a calf contusion and sit out a game, and that's not a problem. Everybody's load
LeBron's
managing.
resume a little different.
If you're going
He's 38 years old.
If you're going to choose a game to load manage, you got to do Denver. That's a perfect time. It's out of conference.
Well,
it's totally meaningless. I would totally sit that game.
Okay, so you mentioned about the altitude, which is also high in Salt Lake City, right? So you have Denver, you have Salt Lake City. If you think you might actually play a playoff finals against the Nuggets, don't you want to have played and see how your body reacts to a game in that high altitude?
I think there's more chance of me reaching the NBA Finals than the 76ers reaching the NBA Finals. I mean,
then what difference does it make? Then play him.
Yeah.
Why play? Well, listen, you got to at least get the second round because he's not in great shape and he's probably risking an injury. He's going to be huffing and puffing.
Unacceptable.
What's the point?
You
Wait,
get
but the
in shape
playoffs
by
don't start till
playing.
May. It's
Also,
January.
you got to play to get in shape. This misnomer that you can just not play for 4 months, and then when you get to the playoffs, when the games are most intense, most physical, that you're going to be able to play through it fine. That's probably why he gets hurt all the time. Because you're load managing him every 2 weeks.
You
and
make
then
it sound like the Sixers. The Sixers are just like every other team in the NBA. Everybody load manages. Why are you picking on the Sixers?
Well, the Knicks don't load manage like this. Not every team does this.
And it's also not just a game in Denver.
Right.
We did this 10 days ago where Embiid seemed to skip all of the tough opponents.
Yeah.
And Philly
Smart.
fans hate Jokic for years in the MVP back and forth. And I think partly for skipping a game against Embiid, and now Embiid skipping games against him, which is why, and he did it right before tip on Saturday, which is why the Nuggets were pissed about it post game, which is why it became a big story.
Because the fans got screwed.
Well, and I mean, yeah, I guess
it's a competitive thing
up
too.
until 5 minutes before the game, they thought Embiid was playing, and then he wasn't.
But the MVP is an individual award. It does not matter. The Sixers have to be focused on what's best for the team.
But if you're saying they can't make the finals, then what difference does it make? Why not play him?
Also, they've been doing it this way his whole career,
Right,
and
that's
they
the
keep
problem.
getting ousted.
Right.
Now, I've got my thoughts on why Joel Embiid is always getting hurt. That dude falls on the ground every...
You are 100% right.
Thank you. He's 7 feet tall, going down to the ground, and he's not falling in like a Tua jiu-jitsu kind of way.
It's amazing that he survives as many games as he does. The dude,
Guy's on the floor the whole night.
When my kids were 9 months old, they had more balance than Joel Embiid. You're absolutely right, Maggie. But it's also that I still think he's just a little bit overweight. I agree with that. He just looks he looks different. I think of NBA title winning centers. I think of Hakeem and David Robinson, and guys are shredded.
Well, Shaq won him.
Yeah,
Shaq was a
but I
different
think
kind of body.
Shaq's career definitely took a plunge. Because look at Shaq in Orlando and Shaq at the end was two different animals.
Well, that's true.
By the way, talking about guys being overweight and going through a season, you talk about Nikola Jokic, a guy who isn't a bodybuilder.
But then he got a lot better shape this last year. I thought he looked better than he did earlier in his career.
Okay, but besides these last few seasons, 69 games, 74 games, 72 games, he's not missing 20, 30 games like Joel Embiid is every year.
How many Embiid did miss last year? Not that many.
Well, last year he won
he was trying to
MVP.
win the MVP.
Yeah.
So that was a big reason why.
But do you guys really think this Embiid versus Jokic in January, that game really matters in any big picture of anything?
People wanted to watch that. What do you mean? What do you
I mean, it doesn't
matter?
NBA regular season does not matter. And I'm just going to say that. I know I'm in the sports media industry and I shouldn't say that, but we all know this. It just does
Why
not
does it matter less than the NFL regular season? Why does week 2 matter in the
But
NFL?
the season's so much longer.
Okay, but I'm talking about week 2. Let's forget about we're doing 82-16. If I take you week 3, why does a week 3 game matter as opposed to week whatever?
By
this is in the
definition,
NBA?
if there are only 17 games, each game is more important than if there are 82 games. It shouldn't be 82 games. That's why the NBA has this problem. Because you can afford to lose 5 games. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but that's not changing. The length of the schedule is not going to change. In fact, they're technically adding more games, just 1 or 2 with the in-season tournament, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But I digress. Was there anything else going on yesterday?
Well, we did discuss this briefly yesterday. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce throwing Justin Tucker's gear out of their way during pregame warm-ups on Sunday. The Ravens kicker was just minding his business.
I've been doing the exact same thing for 12 years. Never really had a problem with anybody.
And then the bullies showed up.
I saw Patrick there trying to warm up and get some drop back. So he asked me while I was on the ground stretching, if I could move my helmet. So I happily got up and I moved my helmet out of the way. At least I thought it was enough out of the way. And then Travis comes over and he just kicks my stuff and he throws my helmet. And I just thought it was all just some gamesmanship, all in good fun, but they seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously.
Mahomes and Kelsey haven't discussed this yet because they're busy celebrating another AFC title.
Man, this is a tough one. I know Pete thinks that they were being classless.
They are.
Right.
Disgusting.
At the same time, though, the Ravens kind of pride themselves on being tough guys. You got Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and all these guys coming out to set the tone for the game. Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Picking on the kicker, Maggie. Come on.
Real big man.
He's
He's
a kicker.
I get it, but the toughness has to go all the way down from 1 to 53, Jay.
Oh, no. Come on, Maggie.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe the Chiefs were kind of taking it to Justin Tucker. Just get a little sense of, how confident the Ravens feel today. How tough are they going to be today?
I mean, look, they definitely took the bully mentality into that game, and it worked. They took Baltimore completely out of the game.
Because that's what they've always prided themselves on being the bully.
100%. But I mean, this is like when, the bullies of the football team go and get the guy who's the science champion. If you're your high
Stuff him in a
school.
locker?
Yeah, and they throw him in a locker.
I mean, Tucker's one of the greatest kickers of all time. It's not nothing.
Go throw Lamar Jackson's helmet. See what happens.
Go find Roquan Smith to Patrick Mahomes.
I was about to
see how that goes.
I'm totally with EJ here. Justin Tucker, Roquan Smith, different.
Okay, different.
But that, by the way, I think it's funny. I totally side with Justin Tucker is perfect to me. I've never seen the guy say the wrong thing or do. I'm Team Justin Tucker in this one. And if it become a field goal battle, the Ravens would have won.
Listen,
that guy's incredible.
I think that Kansas City came in. I'm not saying it's right, but they were trying to get in the heads a little bit. They didn't with Justin Tucker. He kicked his field goal, but
yeah. But I'm curious. Did all the offensive and defensive players even know this was happening?
Apparently, it happened before the official warm up.
And then there was another scuffle. I don't know who that was in the Ravens. They picked on some third string DB, I think, too. And there was 5 Chiefs and 1 Raven. I'm like, Ravens. Fight back.
Well, also,
where
Kelsey
are you guys?
baited Van Noy into a personal foul.
During the game.
Listen, the Ravens lost the poise, clearly.
That was
personal fouls.
And Pete just told me this behind the glass, and I agree with him. That was an experience win. They came in there and they knew we got to get in these guys' heads. We got to show them that we're the bullies. They're not the bullies.
It started with Tucker.
It's definitely started with Tucker.
So I can't. Yes, they might be classless, but I can't say it didn't work.
I mean, that makes them unlikable, for sure.
Wow, that was already there.
Who are they going to pick on next in the Super Bowl? Joe Montana now?
How dare they?
Pick on a key grip on the sidelines?
I don't think it was a matter of intimidation. I think the Ravens...
Jan Stenerud goes up to Joe Montana, what?
I thought the Ravens were so shocked that the Chiefs moved the ball in the beginning. It looked like the Ravens were looking around at each other like, what the hell is going on? Why are we getting the quarterback? Why is it first down? They looked stunned by Mahomes on the first 2 drives.
Travis Kelce was talking, though, after every catch, and he was making sure they knew.
And they were down
that we're coming for you.
They were down 14-7. They were playing like they were down 30-0.
Yeah,
this is what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, knocked off their pedestal big time.
Bogish, thank you so much. Appreciate that. We've got Steelers updates for you. We've got phone calls 855-212-4CBS. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff talking about the legacy of Patrick Mahomes, which we'll talk about quite a bit. And I believe he has no rivals right now that are currently playing. His rival is Tom Brady, and that's no disrespect to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got him once, but we got to see more of Joe Burrow here, taking him on. Josh Allen has tried. He'll get him in the regular season, can't get him in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson just played one of his worst games ever against the Chiefs. I think Mahomes right now is peerless.
Yes, definitely right now. But there are a lot of quarterbacks coming up. Man, CJ Stroud is farther along than any rookie's been in the history of the NFL. And he's not alone. You're going to have Caleb Williams coming into the league. I think Jordan Love is going to be a star. There's just a lot of stars coming up who are, I'm not saying they're going to equal Mahomes, but it doesn't feel like he's so far ahead of the pack by any means. Also, I think Lamar Jackson, the Ravens will be back next year. I think the entire AFC North is incredible. I think there's going to be a lot of challenges to Mahomes to get that far to 7.
Let's go to Shane. He's in Louisville. Hey, Shane, how's it going?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I'll be quick. I want to agree with Philly. I don't see it happening. I'm going to break 2 good points. Even with Brady, the ball had to bounce 3 times. Figure element against the Falcons, Skittles. They rushed that, no Super Bowl, and then obviously Raiders fans, the tough rule. So there's 3 out of 7 right there. And I'll just piggyback on what you said. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. How many AFCs so that you think they'll go to the Super Bowl? out of those guys. I just can't see them I could see 2 or 3 just from 3 of those guys.
I know, but Shane, here's the thing, and I appreciate the call and the perspective, but here's the thing. This was a totally different Chiefs team. And yeah, he didn't have Burrow to have to go through this year, but he still had Allen. Weak defense for the Bills, but he still had Allen. He still had to go through Lamar, a Lamar MVP season to boot. And the Ravens defense was like the best in the league. He's shown you now that he can do it in a variety of different ways. And you can say there's all these other great quarterbacks. There are, and he still vanquishes them.
Yeah, but so he could win his 3rd Super Bowl.
Right.
3rd. 7. Yes, I understand what's happening right now.
Does he have to actually win
how are you
7?
possibly going to sustain that?
Are we just ring chasing now? Like, does he have to win 7 to be considered better than Brady?
Well, I think you could make the argument. If Brady has more Super Bowl rings, I think he's always going to have a claim on that GOAT title. I think yes, obviously Mahomes is more talented.
Okay, but we don't apply the same standard to other sports, or else Bill Russell would no doubt be the greatest player in the history of the NBA, and we don't do that, and you don't do that.
Well, honestly, I never saw Bill Russell play, and also there's something weird going on back in the NBA. I think there was like 8 teams and 2 playoff rounds. And
we'll always be able to do the if but.
Yeah, I mean, also, Bill Russell had Havlicek, and there was a lot going on. Jordan is a different thing than Bill Russell.
I love it. Jordan was playing 1-on-5. That's
Kinda.
always how this was. Jordan was playing 1-on-5. Rich is in Chicago. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hey, guys. Hey, Maggie, I'm with you on Mahomes. And I had 2 comments, 2 topics real quick. I think the idea that Reed's going to retire is not going to happen. And the reason for that is 2 reasons. One, it's kind of like I heard – a little humor here. I heard, though, if he did retire, that the Kansas City security director was been instructed to shoot Nagy. So,
oh, gosh.
Nagy here in Chicago, there's no chance that they're going to give it over to Matt Nagy. I mean, he ran the prevent offense for the Bears.
I think they should give it to Spags. I know Spagnuolo didn't have a good record when he was the St. Louis Rams coach literally a decade ago, but Josh McDaniels got a second chance. Spagnuolo can't get a second chance.
I'm with you. He'd be a great pick, but I think Reed's going to stay as long as he's got Mahomes.
Me too.
Think about it. It's kind of like they're kind of a pair. Mahomes is 28 years old, and I think he's got a good shot. And I don't know I don't know if he'll ever get 7, but you're right. You probably think this is a modern day era when you consider that the Brady started this 15, 20 years ago. And I don't think the opposition was as strong as it is now.
Right.
So
it's like 6 of one, half of the other. Maybe the opposition, I mean, listen, he still had to deal with Ben Roethlisberger. He still had to deal with, Drew Brees and Peyton Manning and everything. Obviously Peyton Manning. But, you also have the rules are different now. So it's there's always going to be something. Rich, thank you. I think Andy Reid could break Don Shula's wins record, or maybe Belichick has it by then. I think that you stick around as long as Mahomes is playing at a high level. Why would you leave?
Gosh, I have no idea what Andy Reid's hard to read. Do we really know what his life interests are other than play calling?
Also, he has control of everything in the building. Why would you walk away?
I don't know.
Coming up, has Brock Purdy shed his label as system QB?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Has Brock Purdy shed the title of system quarterback? We're asking you this morning, Perloff. And I went back and watched the game again last night. Just wanted to get some fresh eyes on this thing. And listen, game manager, that is not Brock Purdy. That he does not fit that title at all, right? A game manager is somebody who you basically want to be in the background. You want them to be vanilla. You want them to just not turn the ball over and kind of be a very bit part in the story of the football game. That is not Brock Purdy. System quarterback, though, I still think we are in that mode for Brock. And he really had a pretty bad first half. It was not pretty, and they took the ball out of his hands in the moment there was trouble. This is a Kyle Shanahan special. If Brock Purdy throws a questionable pass or has a bad throw or a near interception, they will hand the ball off 6 straight times after that. They take the ball out of his hands to settle him down. The second half, he was obviously much better using his legs, made some big passes and some big throws. I'll still put him as the system quarterback, but game manager never fit.
I mean, you say he had a bad first half. You mean when he was sitting there on the sideline watching the Lions convert third down after third down after third down? He had 4 drives in the first half. One of them was a missed field goal, one was a touchdown, one was an interception on tip, and one was a punt. He didn't have a chance in the first half. That was his big problem. How are you possibly going to get anything going when your defense is doing nothing? They had no chance against the Lions. So finally, in the second half, I just think he got to settle down and have some drives because the Niners were able to stop the Lions' run game. So to me, that's a definition of this. The other thing, too, is what is it? I think you're maybe splitting hairs a little bit between game manager and system quarterback.
Right.
Can you go a step further to define what's the difference? Because I think in a lot of casual fans' minds, they're very similar.
No, I think the system quarterback is you can tell that Brock Purdy is the right guy for this San Francisco offense with all the weapons that he has, right?
Right.
But if you put him on a different team, if you put him on the Carolina Panthers, he is not going to be the reason that they elevate or that they win games. Right? He would be mired in mediocrity just like anyone else playing for the Carolina Panthers, right? You'd have to be Patrick Mahomes level.
Well, but would Patrick Mahomes elevate the Panthers?
Yes, I think he definitely would.
To what? 6-11?
Stay with me here.
I'm just saying.
Purdy
no, I think my point is
for this team.
Yeah, I see. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but Brock Purdy's so much better than Jimmy G was with this team. Brock Purdy led the league in yards per attempt. There's just so much more going on with Brock Purdy than a lot of other quarterbacks in the system. So I think I understand what you're saying. And of course, he would stink with the Panthers. Even Mahomes is going to stink with that team.
I don't think so. Okay.
I mean,
but that's fine. Let's not lose the thread.
But but my point is, everybody would suck with the Panthers. He's better than a lot of replacements. Like the Brock above replacement number is pretty high. I think he runs this system a lot better than other quarterbacks.
Well, he does better than Jimmy G because Jimmy G was a turnover waiting to happen. And that's the ultimate thing you have to avoid when you're playing in big games. So I think that Brock is the perfect person for this system, would not be enjoying this type of success if he was trying to run someone else's system.
I think he'd be good in Philly. I think he'd be good in Dallas. I think he'd be good. Kansas City, I don't
think he'd be good in Dallas.
Oh, he'd be great in Dallas.
Why? They don't have nearly enough.
Cooper Rush was great in Dallas.
That was, first of all, it was last year before. They don't have enough weapons in Dallas for him to be good.
I think they do. I think
why
he's a good quarterback.
Dak good?
Well, Dak was third in MVP voting this year.
Okay, but we went through,
second maybe. I don't even know what the final result will be.
But we went through this season, and you got to a playoff game, and he was staring down CeeDee Lamb. Because there wasn't anyone else to throw to.
I just think Brock Purdy would be good in a lot of these systems, especially if you give him any kind of play action capability where the run is a threat. I think he'd be good on many, many teams. That's, I think, where you and I differ a little bit. He'd be great on Detroit. I think him and Goff could be interchangeable. Purdy might be a little better because of his mobility, as a matter of fact. So I think he elevates the system more than you're giving him credit for.
Okay, well, the Lions also probably next to the 49ers have as many playmakers as anyone in the league. So you're basically telling me that you need, and this is what I'm telling you actually, you need to be in that top echelon of offenses. That's why I don't think he would, I think it'd be hard for him in Dallas, but you have to be in that top echelon of offenses that have 3 wide receiver options, an amazing running back, and a great tight end. Not everyone has that. We're talking about San Francisco. We're talking about Detroit. Your Eagles are close, but not all the way there.
They have great receivers. They have all that pretty much, and they have a great line too. So don't forget offensive line. But honestly, I think you put Brock Purdy in one of these NFC South teams, and he can do a lot too. I think he'd be an upgrade in Atlanta. I think he'd be an upgrade. Probably, actually, I'm going to say upgrade for the Saints. Who knows with Derek Carr? Impossible to value. Yeah. Be an upgrade in so many different teams. I think he's a good quarterback because he can push the ball downfield, he can move, and generally he makes good decisions. Okay. Sometimes he'll go into a crowd, but I think he'd be good at a lot of teams.
He pushes the ball downfield because he's got the weapons to be able to push the ball downfield. And that's not the full game here for Brock Purdy. A lot of that in the ability to push the ball downfield is because they've been winning so much at the line of scrimmage because of McCaffrey, because of Debo's elusiveness at the line of scrimmage. There's so many just quick out passes to Debo that they throw at the line of scrimmage, and then he'll make something happen. And it forces the defense to have to honor that, and then he takes his shots.
Yeah, you know who else did that? How many screens did Patrick Mahomes throw on Sunday? 100.
It's a good game plan, but look at what Patrick Mahomes doesn't have nearly the type of weapons as Brock Purdy has at his disposal. They're telling Kadarius Toney to stay home. This is somebody who was good in the Super Bowl last year, and the Chiefs are telling him to kick rocks.
But they do have Kelsey, so and they have a pretty good offensive line run blocking. They have Pacheco. I don't think it's that night and day. And the other thing, too, it's not like the 49ers receivers are all of a sudden Jerry Rice and Cooper Kupp here. They're okay. None of them are beating anyone downfield.
No. I'm not going to do that.
They are not.
Debo, George Kittle. You have, obviously, McCaffrey can run and can catch passes.
Have you ever seen Debo beat anyone on a deep pass? I mean, it's not like we're talking about.
Brandon Ayuk just had the play of the season.
Brandon Ayuk. Okay, this is not the triplets here we're talking about with the Cowboys.
Ayuk is a first-round pick. Isn't he a Pro Bowler this year? Am I taking crazy pills?
1,300 yards from Ayuk this year.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Purdy.
Wait, am I taking crazy pills here, or am I looking at San Francisco and saying this is a team that has tons of weapons and Brock Purdy's enjoying that? He would not be good on every team. He wouldn't be elevating the maybe the Atlanta Falcons, maybe, but
but just generally, you don't think he'd be good on the Cowboys?
I do not.
Oh, man. I think he'd be great in that
There's
McCarthy
no run
offense.
game on the Cowboys. That was one of the big fatal flaws of the Cowboys this year.
There was, when it counted, it wasn't there, but there was still a threat of the run all season long. It helped Dak. Dak was probably great in play action. I understand what you're saying.
What would Purdy be without McCaffrey?
I think he'd be still pretty good. I think he's a really good quarterback.
I think we should put it up for a poll. I don't know how you want to word this one.
The other thing, too, is I think the Niners can replace McCaffrey to some extent because I've seen it before. I've seen other guys who can run wild in that system. It's Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, but then why did they trade for him? Why did they give up a second-round pick?
It was an upgrade, but I still think they could have a game where Raheem Mostert runs for 200 yards, too. This is Kyle Shanahan.
The Dolphins.
Purdy's just perfect. Well, I'm saying Mostert had 200 yards with the Niners and Shanahan system. So I could see a lot of running backs doing that.
I pose this as a pose this as a poll question. Hard to say, but I'll pose it to you guys as well because I think it's an important question to ask. Essentially, Brock Purdy was an MVP finalist this year.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be an MVP finalist playing for any of these other teams? Because we could say, well, he played good. I know, he mentioned Cooper Rush, Perloff. Cooper Rush, like 80 completion, 80 QB rating. I mean, he was okay. They won, but he wasn't like he was lighting it up. So I think it's not necessarily about winning with these teams. Is would he be the same caliber of player? Are we looking at a top 5 caliber player if he was not on the 49ers? And I think that would be the poll question to ask that to you guys.
I think it's no. I mean, if you want to give me, he also plays on the Lions, and you want to cherry pick the other team in the NFC that has all these other great offensive weapons, all right, if you're just going to give me like random, 8-9 team, I think no.
You know who he'd be good with? He'd be great with the Dolphins, too.
Well, again, it should be rather, I'm not trying to, disrespect Tua. I'm not saying it's easy, but it should be rather easy to move the ball when you're playing for the Miami Dolphins.
I think you could go a lot of teams. I could go down this list. He would have helped. I think he would have been great in Cleveland because of all those weapons there. Actually, when they were healthy. I think there are a lot of teams he could be a good quarterback for. I'm not going to go top 5 is a little rich. I will admit that.
Yeah.
But I think he's better than you guys give him credit for, and it wasn't just benefiting off all these guys. The one thing, Debo and McCaffrey and Ayuk and Kittle, they're all good, but it's not, it's not like he has Tyreek Hill and they're very good. They're all kind of possession-style receivers.
We were talking last week about how many of them are going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, a lot of weapons around.
We're talking about how many Hall of Famers are on the field for the 49ers right now. And it was locks for McCaffrey, Kittle, and
Bosa, Trent Williams.
And Bosa. And Debo was like borderline, but he hasn't been healthy enough.
Yeah, but there's definitely better wide receiver cores. I mean, Debo's not even really a receiver. He's kind of a tight end running back wide receiver. Yeah, they have a lot of great underneath weapons, but I think Brock was able to push the ball downfield and do different things that I don't even think Shanahan expected this year. Now, the problem with Brock is he will lose his confidence and throw picks. That is his only downfall. When he's comfortable, oh man, he's really good. And I think his poise was something too. You're totally discounting the fact that he had 2 fourth quarter sort of game-winning drives or game-winning periods. The guy, I think the Packers game, you got to get in the rain. That's not easy to do. I give him a lot of credit for that. So I think he elevates above the system in some senses.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about the Packer game is it's almost like you're solving the problems that you created. You know, he didn't play well through the first 3 quarters of that game, so then had to play spectacularly in that final drive, which he definitely did, and he was awesome on that final drive. It's same thing where you're bad in the first half of this game. I did not think he played well in the first half of this game. Nobody did on the 49ers. That's why they found themselves in a, 24-7 hole. And he played very well in the second half. I think they manage a lot of the game around him until he gets that confident level, and he did it with his legs in the second half. Kudos to him.
Well, he did all year. That he was definitely avoiding sacks and moving around in the pocket and making plays downfield. So that's what Shanahan, like Matt Schaub couldn't do that in Shanahan's system. Sure. So I think he's elevating a little bit above a Jimmy G and sort of the average Shanahan quarterback.
Let's go to the phones. You guys want to talk about Brock Purdy? We're all about it. 855-2124-CBS. Gabe's in California. Hey, Gabe, what's up?
Hey there. Okay, hear me out, Maggie. And no disrespect. I know you're probably going to be tempted to interrupt me, but here we go. It's the system quarterback.
Wait, who, me? I would interrupt you?
Yeah, of course. I listen enough. It's a lazy take.
See, I don't interrupt people. I really try to be respectful of your time, Gabe.
But it's a lazy take.
And one other thing about not interrupting. I'm just kidding. I'm playing with you. I don't think it's a lazy take, but go ahead.
So every quarterback is a product of the system.
Sure.
Perloff was kind of tagging in there. You know, if you had Mahomes, for example, on the Cardinals or on Carolina, he'd be struggling. I think it's something that we like to go to, especially in today's day and age with sports media, especially when it comes to someone who's doing something that they're not supposed to do. If this were the Steelers right now, if this were Cody Pickett, being that you were a first rounder, no one would blink an eye. We would be
Gabe. But here's the other part of that argument. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but here's the other part of the argument. It's not about. We've seen this story before. Actually, Tom Brady did this story. Kurt Warner did this story. We have seen the sort of out of nowhere quarterback, and Purdy had a great college career, so it's not even that out of nowhere. But we've seen this before, so I don't think sports fans are denying it. I think where the disconnect is, there are Brock Purdy and 49er fans who act like he's the second coming great Joe Montana. That's also not right. And I think that we're not meeting in the middle here because the Purdy accolades are so far on one side and people like me are trying to say, hold on a second. Can we pump the brakes that he's not Joe freaking Montana?
Well, no, what it comes down to is you got to let him make a name for himself. And, you know, I think we're over-analyzing him because he is who he is. He's a Mr. Irrelevant. And it's almost as if you guys are waiting for the second shoe to drop. You know, you want him to falter.
See, Gabe,
that's
I get it, but that kind of runs counter to sort of everything about sports media in actuality, which is we love underdog stories. Yeah. We love the people we end up tearing down are like the top picks who don't do well. The guy who comes from out of nowhere, and Gabe, thank you for the call. This is catnip for us.
Yeah.
I just calling it how I see it.
Gabe's 1,000% right. The draft bias thing is the most real thing in all of football is when a guy falls in the draft, we never believe he's that good because our original evaluation was off. That's just how it has always been and will always be. Good? Yeah, I do, but I think that people...
Where was he drafted?
People judged Dak way too harshly because he was a fourth-round pick. Honestly, if I could go through history.
What about Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson was judged for. Everyone's like, oh, the Seahawks won because of defense. But if Russell was a number 1 overall pick, nobody would have said that. I could go. Colin Kaepernick was a top 3 pick. Nobody would have viewed him that way. The where they are drafted defines guys' legacies, and it always happens.
Well, I think it hurts on the negative side. Like if you're a Jared Goff and then you have you end up going to a Super Bowl with the Rams, but then you get traded for Matthew Stafford, that's more of a knock on Goff because he was the number 1 pick. We love the 4th round pick. We love the 3rd round pick. I mean, Tom Brady is pick 199. He's still talking about it. We're still talking about it.
It took 10 years for people to think Tom Brady was good, including
You called
me.
him a system quarterback.
Including me. I think, I've been as guilty as anyone of this mistake. But it's just hard for people to wrap their head around later round picks being so good. It's just the way it is. I mean, obviously, my guy, Andy Dalton, is awesome. He made 4 Pro Bowls in his first 6 years. But since he was a second round pick, everyone's like, this is a fluke. Maybe it turned out.
No. The thing about Andy was that he never won a playoff game. Literally never won one.
But it really
and
was
couldn't win in prime time.
Second round pick. If Brock Purdy was number 1 overall like Baker Mayfield, we would view him so differently. And he could have been. It was a completely random evaluation that Baker went number 1 and he was Mr. Irrelevant. The NFL is kind of guessing when it comes to quarterbacks.
Well, that's for sure. 855-212-4CBS. See you guys on the phones. You want to weigh in on this Brock Purdy discussion. We want to hear from you. Again, 855-212-4CBS. We say good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in the chat. We say a bigger good morning to our CBS Sports Radio affiliates who we're obsessed with. Odyssey app, you can download it. It is absolutely free and it is crystal clear. You can also listen to us on SiriusXM channel 158. More of you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. You can weigh in on a couple debates today. Can Patrick Mahomes catch Tom Brady as the GOAT in NFL history? I say no. Maggie says he is on his way, or at least the pace and the trends are on his way. We also have a big Brock Purdy debate going on. I say he's more than a system quarterback. He's elevated the system. Maggie says he's a system quarterback, and I think that's a fair representation of what you're saying.
Well, appreciate that. I think, again, I think that the people who love Brock Purdy, and I get it, why wouldn't you? NFC Championship game last year, Super Bowl this year. I mean, you got him out of nowhere. Like, this is all amazing and awesome. I don't hate the story. I love the story. We live for these kind of stories in sports. What I can't get to is he's Joe Montana. I mean, if you're not willing to say that Patrick Mahomes could be on track to take down Tom Brady, how do you get to Brock Purdy is Joe Montana? That, to me, does not make sense. That's disrespect to Montana.
Well, I mean, we all know where that's coming from, right?
What's that?
The fact that he has fourth quarter winning drives as he's a short white guy, just like Joe Montana, who's a later drafted guy who has no arm talent. I mean, you understand the connection. It is a little uncanny. Now, if I think Brock Purdy goes on to win 4 Super Bowls, that'll be an app.
then we'll talk about it.
There does seem, I think when that Joe Montana comparison comes up, because there's a certain cool about Purdy late in the game, so far, by the way, he does often feel like he's about to throw an interception. I get that vibe with Brock Purdy, but I don't think when they say there's a Joe Montana aspect to Brock Purdy, I don't think they're saying he's already caught Joe Montana. I just think that there's something about him that Joe Cool, kind of like Eli Manning was super cool in the fourth quarter, but nobody thinks Eli Manning was the all-time great quarterback. There's a quality that certain quarterbacks have. So that's what they're pointing to with Purdy. I think Purdy has to win to get that comparison, but we'll see.
I would hope. Brian is in Arkansas. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, guys. Okay, I'll get off quick, but first off, he threw that pick to IU. It bounced off the defender's helmet, and IU caught the ball. So
it's wild.
He already was throwing an interception.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And he almost threw another one in the
pass.
first quarter also. I mean, if we got to comb through the play-by-play.
Now, you also look at when they were winning, all his weapons were there. But when they were losing this past season, who was out?
Debo.
And as for the Cowboys, let me ask you this, Perloff. I know you're an Eagles fan, but as for the Cowboys, we had one receiver, CeeDee Lamb, who was really good at times, a lot of times. Cooks, who was hardly ever around. He would show up sometimes. Gallup, who loves not catching a ball, who used to catch contested balls.
Yep.
Tolbert, who's still young. Our running game is pathetic at best. Don't get me wrong, Zeke was off his last leg last year. This year, we missed his last leg.
Right.
So the Cowboys are not a great team. That's my favorite team, and I love and always have. But I'm just telling you, as a fan of 40 years on these Cowboys, we are not. We shouldn't have gone where we did. We made it there because of people couldn't figure out how to block CeeDee Lamb. As for Patty Mahomes, who everybody, I love Patty. He's from Texas. He's a great guy. But he's got Travis Kelce and he's got Rice, a rookie, and he has Pacheco. Look again at what Brock has. Brock has weapons. I mean, he has more weapons, and when the weapons are not there, he looks average at best.
Well,
And
the only
yes,
weapon who wasn't there was
he is
Debo.
a system quarterback.
And Trent Williams.
He
But
is
yes.
a system quarterback.
Yeah, but
That's it.
he'd also, I think he'd be pretty good.
Brian, thank you.
He'd be pretty good in that Mike Holmgren and Andy Reid offense. I disagree. I think he's born to be a West Coast quarterback. You don't think Andy Reid could do something with Brock Purdy? He would love that guy.
Well, I mean, Andy Reid could probably do a lot with a lot of guys, but
Yeah, it reminds me. Yeah, he's a system quarterback. There are a lot of good systems out there, and Brock Purdy could fit into a lot of them. I think the guy's got a good NFL career ahead of him.
well, why Brian brought up the Dallas Cowboys is Perloff thought Brock Purdy would be, did you say as good or better than Dak Prescott in the Cowboys offense?
No, I think he'd be good. I just said he'd be good.
Okay.
I think he'd be really good, as a matter of fact.
See, I am going to disagree with you there. I think Brock needs a little bit more scaffolding, if you will, around him by virtue of a really good running game, a really versatile running game, which the Cowboys did not have this year, and more weapons. And, think about it. Brock's got these weapons that we talk about. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. We don't even talk about Juszczyk made 2 incredible plays in this game. Juwan Jennings, who made the unbelievable Purdy throws everything you're not supposed to do as a quarterback. Falling away off the back foot across the field, basically throws a duck, and somehow Juwan Jennings comes down with it.
Yeah.
It was a masterclass.
I mean, the Cowboys, I'm looking, they were the 4th best offense in the league this year, so they had something going on.
But you said it for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's not CeeDee Lamb, it's nothing.
Yeah, but that was late in the season. I think Brock Purdy probably could have thrown 35 touchdowns there. And listen, the Niners were the best, basically the best offense. I think we're discounted. The guy had the most yards per attempt in the entire NFL. Jimmy G was never doing that. That's why I'm saying you got to do, who else could you put in that system? Who would be better for that system right now, Brock Purdy or Jared Goff? I think Purdy, because he can move a little bit.
Well, we saw that because Goff got moved off his spot in the NFC Championship game, and all of a sudden, it did not look the same.
Yeah, and believe me, I invented the system quarterback thing in my mind. I love calling people system quarterback. I call Brady a system quarterback. Yeah. Mahomes, I 100% think is a system quarterback. I think he is a large function of his success is his marriage with Andy Reid. I think he goes somewhere else. Who the heck knows what happens?
We'll disagree there. Andrew Bogish is here with headlines. See you guys on the phones. We'll get back to you. Let's see what Bogish has to say about things.
I've got words I didn't think I'd write or say. Mac Jones apparently jealous of Zach Wilson, and not because of his mom's hot friends. The Patriots QB reportedly envious that the Jets actually told Zach that he sucked, something that didn't happen in New England. This goes back to Week 17 when these two teams met in Foxborough. Jones reportedly told people on the field the Jets handled Wilson's issues far better than the Patriots handled his. Specifically, nobody told Jones that he was being demoted to 3rd string until the inactive list came out 90 minutes before kickoff of that game.
I mean, this is an all-timer. To say you're jealous of how Zach Wilson's football career is going is unreal. Also, I don't think the communication was all that great with Wilson, considering they were leaking stories about him not wanting to play.
Right.
The communication of the Jets has been horrible for over a decade. Maybe more. 3 decades? I don't know.
Yeah, and this is how much, I guess, Bill Belichick hated Mac Jones. No one talked to him. He liked the fact that the Jets told Zach Wilson, we're going to get rid of you this offseason.
Yeah.
Mac just wants clarity.
No, listen, maybe that part of it I understand. Just if you're going to trade me, you're going to get rid of me, tell me. But the whole 2 years or 3 years leading up to this with Zach Wilson has been one giant cluster. How could you be jealous of that?
Mac Jones just seems like...
This dude is lost.
Yeah, I mean, between showing up in workout gear at the press conference for Gerard Mayo, even though they're not bringing you back, and you already cleaned out your locker, to this stuff, he just has weird vibes. No good vibes around Mac Jones.
Can you imagine? Gerard Mayo, is the new head coach of the Patriots, told the media they're going to draft a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick, and they don't even have a GM yet.
And this guy's sitting there front row in his Patriots shorts and Patriots tight T-shirt saying, I'm ready to go, ready to work out. What's with this guy?
Wait. The Patriots aren't bringing back Mac Jones? I didn't know that at all.
I mean, they might bring him back, but he's not going to be their starting quarterback.
Well,
probably.
yeah, of course not. But I think Mac Jones is still going to be a pay. Oh, yeah. But he's definitely coming back, right? Because he's a first-round pick on a contract, and no one's going to take him, are they?
I don't know. I thought the vibes were that they're not going to bring him back.
Oh, I thought he was going to be
Bailey Zappi as the backup, and they'll keep and they'll draft a quarterback.
So they just cut Mac Jones?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I would do.
What's happened to Zach Wilson, too, by the way? I'm sorry, I'm a little behind. Is he coming back?
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Where's he going?
I don't know. Hold on. Robert Sal's got to text Joe Beningo about it first.
Where's he going?
Vendor?
Yeah, wherever Joe B. tells him to go.
The place where I think Zach Wilson's going, I never said this, so first people hearing it are you guys.
Oh, all right.
Kansas City Chiefs. They already took Blaine Gabbert, took that reclamation project. He hadn't gotten the field, so they were fine.
Yeah.
I think that Zach Wilson becomes Andy Reid's next pet project.
I was going to say Reds by MetLife Stadium. Great place. only chance. It's ridiculous. No, he is going to be the last reclaimed in this whole
of the reclamation project.
Yes,
he will be. He's like the last dog left at the adoption.
And look, his attitude changed. His attitude was better with Aaron Rodgers, but the talent, it's not coming together.
Well, the problem of him being a backup quarterback is I don't trust him to come in and not turn the ball over and lose the game.
That's why I think he's going to go to the Chiefs. He could be a third string behind Blaine Gabbert.
He doesn't move the ball.
That Blaine stays.
He doesn't move the ball up the field. Usually you have to do that in order to win ball games.
Small detail in football.
But like Gabbert's like such a great personality to have. That's why everyone wants him around. Yeah, he's already won a Super Bowl. Like I think like Zach Wilson's the opposite. He's this young mercurial guy. He's the worst backup in some senses on a good team, right?
I wouldn't want him, but that's me.
I wouldn't.
I don't know what he brings to the table.
By the way, Chris, the one guy we know who's a fan of him is Chris Jones. Remember, he said he was special, and then that's when Rodney Harrison got in his trouble talking about how he was garbage. So he's got one fan in the building.
I forgot about that. Good memory, EJ. I thought you were going to say Chris Sims. Chris Sims is the one who said I'd take him over.
You know, how about
Trevor
Kyle
Lawrence.
Shanahan? That's a guy.
He's already got Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he's already got Sam Darnold.
How many former
Why
Jets
not add-
quarterbacks can you have on one roster?
Yeah.
What page of Enough with These People is Zach Wilson on, Pete?
Well, it's chapters. So he probably has a couple chapters, probably chapters 3 and 4.
I actually think that he wrote the forward for Pete's memoir, Enough of These People.
No, Sam Darnold did that.
No, Sam.
A caller last hour asked about the Seahawks head coaching search. They and the Commanders interviewing Ravens D coordinator Mike McDonald and Lions OC Ben Johnson to begin this weekend. The Chargers expected to hire Joe Ortiz out of the Ravens front office to be their GM. Ortiz has been in Baltimore for 26 seasons. He's been their director of player personnel since 2019.
No relation to Carlos.
All the Bucks.
Also, are they just going to pass guys back and forth between John and Jim? I mean, they've been doing that.
Yeah, with a Michigan triangle once in a
It's
while
like
as
a
well.
shuttle,
Yeah.
a direct shuttle from LA to Baltimore.
All the Bucks showed up in Denver last night. Giannis, Dame, Middleton, even new head coach Doc Rivers, but they still lost to the Nuggets 133-107. Nikola Jokic, 25 points, 16 rebounds, 12 assists to spoil Rivers' debut as head coach.
Oh, they're great. They're a very coachable team. They're adults. You know, this is not. This team is so far. I mean, but they're very coachable. That won't be a problem with this group.
They're what? Coachable. Oh, okay, great.
Oh, that's going to work really well.
Well, here's the question. If they're so coachable, why'd they need you? You're supposed to be the guy who handles the big egos.
Wrong coach.
As you're doing commentary, too. That's where it all started. So he's doing it from the commentating booth, and then he becomes a coach. So ridiculous.
Wait. I'm a little confused. Is your problem with Rivers or the team? The team. You're not saying the team isn't coachable. You're saying Rivers is.
It's everybody. It's a total disaster.
It's always
over there.
everybody.
I mean, they brought in 3 coaches. Have 3 coaches in a span of a year. I mean, there's a problem.
It is a little odd, and after one game to be like, this is a very coachable team. How the hell do you know that?
Also, they lost.
And they lost the game, right?
Well, that being said,
this group is
Sounds
great.
so confident too.
And maybe I'm wrong about it, but like this is the nice guy team, right? Like there are no 3 nicer people in the NBA than
Maybe
Dame
not the Adrian
Lillard, Brooke
Griffin.
Lopez, and Giannis.
Ask Adrian Griffin how nice they are.
But that's the thing. Like the fact that Adrian Griffin must have been such a jerk to get on Giannis's wrong side feels to me, and Dame Lillard, and like this is. I mean, who is not a mensch on this team? That's why
Be the Milwaukee Menches.
Yeah, I mean, this is like that was a reaction. Like Adrian Griffin must have been really a jerk, right?
We ran Terry Stotts out before the
Yeah,
season
Terry
even
Stott.
started.
Terry Stott,
Another nice guy.
I know
Nice
nothing
guy. Very
about
nice dude.
Terry Stott, but he seems like a gentleman. Yeah, so I agree. They are coachable.
It's just funny though for Doc to be like, "Listen, you just roll the balls out with these guys. Like, what am I even doing here?" Because it's not going to be the adjustments during a playoff series We know that.
Oh my God! I almost feel like you talk about load management. Get Doc off the sideline in Game 7. I don't know who the toughest is.
Can he get a couple games off?
If they sat him in a Game 7, they let somebody else coach.
Playoff load management.
DNP, other coach's decision.
Just have an opener for the playoffs. Like, Doc doesn't actually coach. Or maybe he's the opener and then someone
Dave
closes the game.
Yeager comes in.
He gets you to 3-1 and somebody else closes out the
Right,
series.
exactly. He's your series opener.
Do you know how there's been 5 straight NBA champions, different champions? I feel like we're never going to get the same NBA champion again because every single team is beyond dysfunctional and nobody can figure this out. Is there ever going to be a dynasty in the NBA at any level?
I mean, Nuggets look really good this year.
I mean, the Warriors.
We said that about everybody.
The Warriors were just there, so it's not like it's been that long ago that the Warriors weren't a dynasty.
But it is odd. We haven't had back-to-back. We've had the 17-18 Warriors. I don't know. It just feels hard right now. Maybe the Nuggets. But are the Nuggets that much better than everybody else?
They're at least not dysfunctional, it appears.
Wait 5 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah, the Bucks, the 2021 Bucks, did they look dysfunctional with Budenholzer? No.
Well, Boo, that was not. It wasn't
wasn't that
dysfunctional in terms of
popular.
personality, but in terms of play,
Did you see Giannis, by the way, got called for another 10-second violation at the free throw line last night?
I
is
love
that
it.
back? Oh no.
Well, you saw Max Strus the other night was basically counting on his fingers on the free throw line while Giannis was shooting.
Perloff, you just said, "Oh no!" Like
I
he
hated
just,
that
Like he's
storyline.
walking down the basement in a haunted house.
Shaq taking free throws.
No.
Well, you know that something mentally happens to Giannis, and I can't deal with that storyline again. We did that for a whole season. No.
This is great. They're going to implode like no other team we've seen in the last few years. Oh,
But that's the thing. They fired their coach when they had 30 wins.
Yeah, there's
They're
no
not
way
actually,
that
they're
team
not
implode.
They're not imploding.
There's no way they implode.
I'm telling you, the playoffs. Watch them in the playoffs.
Well, they already lost in the first round last year. That's why they changed their head coach.
They're going to do the same thing. Watch. I'm telling you.
I don't know, Pete. This is an unexpected
fourth
target
book,
from
I'm telling you.
Of all the things you hate, Pete, the Milwaukee Bucks was low on my list.
I mean, the Bucks do suck, which I've been saying now for several. I mean, they suck.
This isn't EJ Pete. This is codependent.
The
You guys-
the Muppet balcony guys on the Bucks with the butt. Am I missing something? What's their record? They're like, are they still way above 500?
Extremely talented team, a lot of wins, but I mean, how they handle this Griffin thing, awful.
The likability factor is
Yeah,
waning.
plummeted.
What else we got, Bubba?
The Sixers lost in Portland last night, 130-104, with Joel Embiid missing a second straight with knee soreness. The Suns gave the Heat their 7th loss in a row, 118-105 in Miami. The Knicks win streak is 7 after a 113-92 final in Charlotte. Men's college hoops, number 7 Duke, a 77-67 win at Virginia Tech. Those Blue Devils, one of the new members of the top 10 this week, moving up 5 spots to that number 7. 9 other schools moved up or down 5+ spots this week, but UConn remains number 1, still followed by Purdue and North Carolina. And the Anaheim Angels signing veteran outfielder Aaron Hicks. The Yankees still owe him $19 million minus his new league minimum salary after cutting him last summer. Guys, back to you.
I think I have a job in the NBA for me.
Oh.
I think I could be the guy who decides what injury we're going to make up for load management because I've been following this closely. Calf soreness, knee soreness, left thigh contusion. It is amazing.
It used to be tendonitis, but now that sort of implies some kind of longer-term disability.
You're right. Nobody says tendonitis
Used
anymore.
to be tendonitis.
Yeah,
The injury consultant.
Yeah, the new construction is blank management.
Yeah.
It's like, because it means I kind of am hurt, but I'm not really. I should just take a night off. So you just throw like knee management or ankle management. Back
You don't want
management.
anything where, your agent has to be consulted here because you don't want anything on the injury report that would hurt you in your next upcoming
That's a great
negotiation.
point. Yeah.
So you got to be something just like, I don't know.
Yeah, anytime you
Bad
see
day.
the word contusion, that means it's a lie, right? Because anybody can play with a contusion.
Yeah, I would hope. I mean, I know these guys, it's tough probably to be 7 feet tall, but maybe a bruise.
Oh my gosh. I can just picture a team employee calling the agent and say, okay, this is what we're going with. And the agent be like, okay, how about you try this and rewrite it?
Red mark it out, send back a couple more ideas. 855 Bogish, thank you. 855-212-4CBS. See you guys on the phones. Also, the big what if question for one of the losers from this weekend. We've got that for you next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
I'll go first. You ready? This is Andrew Perloff.
Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. A lot of conversation around Brock Purdy this morning and whether he has completely shed the moniker of just being, not just being, but being a system quarterback. Game manager, I think, doesn't fit him. But being a system quarterback, or is he are the weapons around him elevating him, or is he elevating the weapons around him?
It's funny, by the way, real quick.
Yes.
Didn't Patrick Mahomes game manage the heck out of that game on Sunday?
I know, but
greats can be game managers too.
That is true, and that's one half of one game of Patrick Mahomes' career.
Yeah. No, but I think it's funny, like these terms, system quarterback and game manager, they don't have to be an insult. That's all I'm pointing out. You could be a system quarterback and win 3 Super Bowls. So I don't think you're killing Brock Purdy by saying he's a product of a system.
I'm not, but Patrick Mahomes isn't a good example because we've already basically established that he's the most talented quarterback we've ever seen.
No, we just said he's more talented than Tom Brady.
Okay. Who else do you want to put him up against?
Well, I mean, I think then you're getting into an Aaron Rodgers versus Mahomes debate. I have to think about that.
Okay.
He's close, that's for sure.
Kevin is in Oregon. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Hey, I was thinking about this. Brock Purdy is able to utilize the great skill players around him successfully. Name me a quarterback that has been successful that hasn't been surrounded by talent like that. And one other thing before I give up, the Michigan football head coach better watch his back, because it's my understanding the Michigan football team has hired Doc Rivers as a consultant.
Doc will be on the sidelines any minute, Kevin. Great call there. I mean, do I think that there were quarterbacks who were really good, who were good quarterbacks who got put in bad situations?
No, he's saying name a guy who's won without good weapon.
Well, okay, but
you could say Mahomes last year. I'll help you out.
Well, or this year.
or this year, right? Although Mahomes hasn't really done that much this year, but yes.
I think that you do know talented quarterbacks, even if they don't have everything around them, right? Don't you still think that Russell Wilson is a talented quarterback without good weapons?
No. I was thinking more, here's the equation. Tom Brady was great. And then the lack of talent around him just eventually wore him down. And he had to leave New England. Like, even he could not elevate. Eventually, the receiving core gets so bad that it just can't work, right? And Mahomes, I do think if the Chiefs got lucky. They drafted Rashee Rice, who looks like a star. At a certain point, they had to bring in talent. You saw Mahomes struggling without talent around him. So quarterbacks are affected by weapons. I totally agree. And it's very rare to see a case where a quarterback is the only good. It's not like LeBron or Michael Jordan where you could lift 4 scrubs to be at least a finalist. It doesn't work like that in football. You have to have great players around you. Can you think of any example of a quarterback who's won without great players? There probably is not one.
No, you can't win, but I think there are guys, and I know that they have all the stats, but don't we believe that Justin Herbert is probably a better quarterback than the team has shown? Like, you can see the talent there. And I know he's got Mike Williams and
10
Keenan
Pro
Allen,
Bowlers around him.
but they're never healthy enough for them to be a real thing.
No, I don't think Justin Herbert's elevated them anywhere.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But don't you think that he's got talent? Even though he hasn't won, look at what we're projecting for Justin Herbert now with Jim Harbaugh in the building.
Right, but he threw 38 touchdowns and 10 picks one year. So he's produced. He's made the playoffs. I'm not sure that's a good example because he has Bosa and Khalil Mack and there's Pro Bowlers all Derwin James. So I'm saying find an example where there's a great quarterback with just a crappy team around him who elevates them to the next level. It's much harder in football, much more of a team sport than, say, basketball.
Oh, I agree with you, but I can give you the flip side, which is you can see there are talented quarterbacks who are not in great positions. Like they're never going to be able to realize your full potential because your team's not good enough. And I think that that's someone like a Justin Herbert. You can see he's got all the talent in the world, but right now, even with those high-profile names, they're not a good enough team, and he didn't have a good enough coach to fully realize his potential.
I see what you're saying. I mean, he's put up monster numbers, so he's realized that part of his potential. Josh Allen might be just as good a case because the team around him is really never gotten it all on the same page.
And he's got to do everything.
And, I don't know, though. I
would
do
say
feel
Russell
like
Wilson the first year in Denver, maybe this year in Denver. Like, the weapons just weren't good enough for him. You said it yourself. You were like, Russell's having a good year. Russell's having a good year. It's the people around him.
The stats were well, I don't know if I exactly said that.
You hate Jerry Jeudy.
I can't say it. No, there's nobody's
hate.
going into Denver than winning with that roster. It was just a mess. But I do think Russell Wilson slowed down tremendously. I don't know what happened to his legs.
Well, he got older.
Yeah, but how did he go from, at least he couldn't run at all this year. He got 5 yards down the field. He ran like me. Anyway, regardless, I think the point is valid. It is a sport where quarterbacks need help. Even Patrick Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson, even the most talented ones we've ever seen need help.
855-212-4CBS. Perloff, you had an interesting what if. Did you put this out on social media yesterday?
Actually, this was sent to me by a user, and I'm sorry I don't have the name here. Everybody was discussing Dan Campbell, how much was he at fault for the 4th down plays specifically going forward instead of field goal. So now Ben Johnson, their OC, is interviewing all over the place. And I said the Lions are going to be back because they've been the hottest drafting team in the league. They have young talent everywhere. But a lot of people said, well, Ben Johnson's leaving, so is that going to gut their Super Bowl chance? And someone said, would you rather have Ben Johnson stay and Dan Campbell leave, or Dan Campbell stay and Ben Johnson leave? I'm going Ben Johnson.
Wow. Again, what if you found out that Ben Johnson was the one who ordered the code red on the 4th down decisions and running the ball on 3rd and goal inexplicably at the end of the game?
Dan Campbell's got a little Nick Sirianni. What is it exactly you do around here? You got Aaron Glenn and Ben. You got Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson coordinating the heck out of things all year long. I just saw that offense. They're on such a roll. I do not want to take him out of this. I love what's happening with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Penny Sewell. I feel like you got something good on offense. And let's face it, Dan Campbell cost him the Cowboys game and cost him the Niners game.
Okay, but what if maybe I'll give you he's the head coach, the buck stops with him. But obviously Ben Johnson has to be on board with going for it on a lot of these fourth downs, which has been the calling card of the Detroit Lions. If not, he probably would have quit. I mean, how could you survive in a system if you aren't equally the risk taker?
No, I can't go there. I got to put that on Dan Campbell. I'm not putting that on Ben Johnson. And
so if you're saying he's unilaterally making these decisions and you can't say, what do you do around here? Obviously, he's making the call in the most crucial points of the game.
Right. So he does the one thing that is hurting them instead of all the many things that are good for them.
Right. So he's only there for the bad stuff, and he's not there for any of the good stuff. All the good stuff is Ben Johnson. All the bad stuff is Dan Campbell.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm getting that right.
Dan Campbell's obviously the attitude guy. He's the hype guy. He gets you fired up, believing in yourself, and that's all great. But the actual X's and O's of Detroit's offense is awesome. And I cannot let that out the building because I saw it happen to the Eagles. They let Shane Steichen walk away, and all of a sudden, they can't move the ball at all.
Okay, but the Eagles didn't have the losing identity that the Detroit Lions have had. I think you're kind of glossing over the fact that, yes, along with good players and being so bad that you got to draft at the top of the draft, I think Dan Campbell has done a lot more than just sit there calling bad fourth down plays. Guys, come on. That's like not giving him nearly the amount of credit.
I know. I'm overexcited, but I really don't want to lose Ben Johnson. That's real. I mean, that's a big risk to lose a guy who's really had success. And we'll see. He might not get a job. Also, at one point, that GM is on fire right now. Brad Holmes might be the superstar out of all these guys by a mile.
That's true. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Coming up, who benefits the most from a Super Bowl win? Which legacy on the line would get a major boost from hoisting the Lombardi? Get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Who has the most to gain by a Super Bowl win? Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and we're talking about legacies here. You got a lot of fun characters in this game, Perloff, and there was a question about whether this is the Super Bowl that everyone wanted to see, a rematch of Super Bowl 54. I think it's great because it's basically stars at every single position. This is going to be a lot of fun. But when it comes to legacies, who has the most to gain by winning a Lombardi this year?
This is easy. Niners coach Kyle Shanahan has one of the most famous Super Bowl failures of all time. 28-3 halftime lead. Falcons blow it. Then he sort of has another failure in San Francisco when they lose to the Chiefs, blow a lead in the fourth quarter. He can put all that beside him. No one will ever talk about Kyle Shanahan coming up short. In fact, if he wins the Super Bowl, I believe his record improves to 9-3 in the postseason. He's going to go down as one of the great postseason coaches, one of the winningest postseason coaches. Kyle Shanahan is going to be on certainly the current Mount Rushmore of coaches and has a chance to really build a Hall of Fame career with a win here.
Which is funny because his dad's not even in the Hall of Fame
Yes.
yet. His dad
he's got to
get in.
He's
right?
got to. We don't understand that at all.
Anyway, see, here's the thing where I'm going to disagree with you about Shanahan. I think most people, you can nitpick about his game management, and certainly I've done that, and it's out there that he's not exactly the best game manager. But for the most part, I think everyone believes that he's already one of the great coaches that we have in this era. Now, you talk about Sean McVay. Where did Sean McVay come from? Shanahan. Like, it's all kind of bred from the Shanahan.
Well, Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan, yeah. But Mike,
right.
Kyle, I mean, aren't they all going to get a similar type of credit here? I think Kyle's going to get the similar credit that his dad does.
But I think Kyle has this thing where people think he's going to blow it. I think like he's actually more known for blowing it than actually winning it, in my mind.
But how many assistants get hired? Like he is definitely already thought of as one of the great coaches.
But no, I don't think having a great tree definitely. I mean, Tony Dungy and Mike Holmgren have the two most famous trees, and nobody's confusing Mike Holmgren and Tony Dungy with Belichick.
I know, but Dungy's in the Hall of Fame, and Mike Holmgren should be in.
Yes, but they don't get any clout over Belichick, whose tree is awful. So just the fact that Shanahan gets his assistants hired doesn't mean anything.
I guess where I'm trying to go with that is his fingerprints are all over the league. You know, Shanahan, both the offensive side, which we know he's more responsible, but the defensive side with the coaches that all get hired off of the defensive side of his tree as well. It's like he's everywhere.
Yeah, but I don't know if that changes the image that he's a big game choke
I think
artist.
Andy Reid's coaching tree helps him in his argument. I mean, Andy Reid, obviously, it
Really?
helps. Yeah, I think Andy Reid, it helps with his, of course, the actual Super Bowls he's won and even the success that he had in Philadelphia with getting to those 4 straight NFC Championship games. But look at the Andy Reid tree. I mean, that's a revered tree.
None of them compete with Mike Holmgren's tree, and I don't feel like Mike Holmgren's viewed as that coach. Mike Holmgren he's not, when you think of genius coaches, Mike Holmgren does not jump to mind, and his tree blows away everybody, includes Andy Reid.
We are talking about whose legacy and who has the most to gain by winning the Lombardi Trophy this year. Perloff says it's Kyle Shanahan. Maybe change the sort of thought that he's a big game choker to a big game winner. I think it's actually Patrick Mahomes. And we'll go back to a conversation that we were having earlier in the show, which is Mahomes is on pace, at least keeping pace with Tom Brady. This is his rival now, is Brady, and he will be chasing Brady. If he wins 3 Super Bowls in 5 years and has been to 4, that's wild. I mean, now we're really talking about someone who is going to be nipping at Brady's heels very soon.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Mahomes versus Brady thing is already getting louder. It'll be very loud if they win this game. I can't argue with that. I just think that we already know, even if Mahomes loses this game, his greatness is unassailable. So in that sense, I don't think he has a lot to lose in this game. If he comes up short, everyone's going to say, well, okay, well, he's going to be back again. And it's hard to imagine Mahomes blowing this game, too, because he doesn't really, he didn't even come close to making a mistake on Sunday against the Ravens. So it's hard to imagine coming away thinking less of Patrick Mahomes, where I could easily see a scenario where we think less of Kyle Shanahan. Say that they have a lead and he can't solve it away again. I think people's head is going to explode and be like, oh, no, it's happening again.
Well, if he has a 10-point lead going to the fourth quarter and blows it again to Mahomes,
no.
I don't even want to know.
See, I think Mahomes has already done so much with his team, which is not great around him, and he's sort of elevated that offense with a bunch of new pieces. I don't know how much he has to gain here.
So the question is, whose legacy, whose reputation, however you want to put it, has the most to gain by winning a Lombardi trophy? Brock Purdy didn't make it for me on this time around. However, it's undeniable that Purdy would also have a stake here because, and here's the thing though, if we're talking about, and a big disagreement that you and I have is about Purdy and being a system quarterback and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but is he elevating the weapons or are the weapons elevating him? None of that conversation changes with a Super Bowl. It's all the same because he's not all of a sudden going to be on a different team with fewer weapons. Nothing about the Purdy conversation changes whether they win or lose this game, right? Unless he throws 4 picks or he throws for 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, in reality it does matter how he plays. If he has a totally clean game, like Brock Purdy playing against the Commanders or something, where he throws 4 touchdowns and no picks, it's going to be hard to stop that. Brock Purdy is a lead bandwagon. If it's more like last week, then it's going to be Trent Dilfer all over again. No, you're absolutely right.
Mixed bag, right.
Yeah. No, Trent Dilfer, where the team around him, he won with the Ravens, elevated him. I do think Purdy can, if he has a really just sharp, clean game, I think he can elevate his status a little bit. It'll be really interesting. What if, we are not even talking about the scenario, what if Brock Purdy just outplays Patrick Mahomes, has 4 touchdowns, goes 23 for 29, and scrambles around, is completely perfect? Is that going to change your opinion of where he fits in this whole system quarterback argument?
For Brock Purdy? I mean, the one thing that I would have to give it to Brock that could be the game, the difference maker about being elite, not elite or whatever, would be the poise in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, if he really does if he has a second half in the Super Bowl like he did in the NFC Championship game, I mean, what are you going to do? I still would think he's the system, but the poise in a big game would probably have to push it towards elite. Now, here's a question. This actually came up in the chat earlier today, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. You can say good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers. If Brock is elite, what kind of contract would he be in line for? Do you think that Brock Purdy is getting Justin Herbert money?
Oh, yeah. He's getting $200 million.
So he wins the Super Bowl. He doesn't have to get a contract right now, by the way. So he's still on the rookie deal. This is what every team hopes and prays for.
I mean,
you can win with a cheap quarterback. But if he wins a Super Bowl, are you comfortable handing Brock Purdy $200 million?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, it's reality. Tua is probably going to get it, too. Dak's definitely getting it. So there's no other. It's not an exceptional thing to give a quarterback $200 million anymore. There's going to be 10 of them by the end of the year.
Yeah. What about Jared Goff?
Goff, I would try and get in between, but you're probably going to end up paying him. Also, Cousins is probably going to get another big deal, too.
And coming off an Achilles. Yeah, CJ.
No, I mean, Cousins apparently wants another 2 years, $95 million was the report yesterday. Guaranteed, fully guaranteed. Yeah. So that's what you're looking at. So you're looking at $45, $50 million for a top-end quarterback, which monetarily, there's no question who has the most to gain. It is Brock Purdy.
Well,
This is a guy making $1 million next season in terms of his salary. But I even think beyond that, like, this is a guy who I think, what you guys didn't talk about, any question about whether or not, hey, should we think about maybe getting an upgrade? Like those things are still out there. And I think if they lose this game, there's always going to be that question of, should we get some guy that's not a Mr. Irrelevant? And like to Perloff's point about how there's a stigma for Brock Purdy with that. We know last year they wanted Tom Brady.
Because Brock Purdy's elbow was hanging, was dangling off his arm. I think that's because Purdy was hurt. Now that he's healthy, I don't think there's any.
Right,
Do you still think they're looking around?
I don't know if they're looking around, but I think there's always going to be that question mark in the back of their head because they saw how he played against the Packers and they saw how he played for one half against the Lions. If they go out in this game and they lose and he doesn't play well, the question is going to be, can you win with a Mr. Irrelevant regardless of how good your team is?
Right.
He puts all that to bed if he wins this game. If he wins this game, you're talking about a 49er team that's loaded. They could win 2, 3 Super Bowls maybe. So he may not just win 1 Super Bowl with this game. He could win 3.
Well, the one thing that would end up breaking the team up, just like all good teams, would be everyone needs to get paid. And you've already paid Bosa, and there's a couple guys. McCaffrey's already getting paid. He's not getting another contract like that. Debo got paid already. But still, that's what always breaks up these Super Bowl teams, right? Is everyone wants to get theirs, which I totally get. So here's the thing about that argument, which is interesting. We're talking about Brock Purdy now. Does he have the most to gain with a Super Bowl win monetarily? Yes, you're absolutely right about that. Yes, I don't think he probably doesn't want to live with a roommate anymore. But do you really need the Super Bowl? Are you just making that decision literally off the Super Bowl? Because if so, I could say your logic is flawed.
Yeah.
Because that's a 1-game sample. I think if you believe in Brock, hasn't he showed you enough? And if you don't believe in him, then he hasn't, and even a Super Bowl wouldn't change that.
I would make it on 1 game 1.
Wow.
And 2, I don't think that is unfair or that is rash because at the end of the day, this is a team that is only trying to win this game. You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, where Ohio State was a team he could not beat. And if he was not going to beat them, they were going to show him the door. It didn't matter if he was a Michigan legend. Didn't matter if he was a great NFL coach. At the end of the day, that's all that mattered. Right now, for the 49ers, all that matters is hoisting another Lombardi trophy.
I think that's flawed logic, though, and it was flawed with the Michigan. It's flawed that people want Ryan Day on the hot seat with Ohio State now that he's on the wrong side of that rivalry. To take 1 game, I mean, you're responsible for so much more as a coach and a quarterback. That I think if you love Purdy now, you pay him. If you still aren't sure about Purdy now, you're never going to be sure about him. Here's another question. What if somehow, I know that we don't have evidence of this right the moment because the 49ers defense hasn't been exactly lighting the world on fire right now. But what if they play the all-time game? What if in the Super Bowl, the 49ers defense?
Yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, but I'm just saying, let's for instance, this thing.
Yeah, the Bucs did it, so you never know.
What if they all of a sudden they tighten up? They have stars on defense. It's not that crazy. What if they make Mahomes look pedestrian and it's really a defense first? They will have won the game, but say Brock is a very muted part of it. Do you still have the same logic there that he has to win the Super Bowl to prove to you he belongs?
I mean, for me, if they win the Super Bowl, you give him the bread.
No matter how much you, no matter if he has a big part in it or a little part.
Right. Now, look, if he throws 4 touchdowns and they lose, and he plays like Jalen Hurts did, for example, now that maybe that didn't work out great for the Eagles, but fine. Like, I would say no problem paying him. But if they go out there and they lose this game, and you go out and say, well, he went up against Patrick Mahomes, and he was clearly outmatched despite the fact that we all these weapons. Because think about this. As you mentioned, Maggie, you're not going to be able to pay everybody.
Right.
So this is probably the most talented team he's ever going to have. And he's going against Patrick Mahomes, maybe least talented team ever. If with the most talented team the 49ers have had in 30 years can't beat Patrick Mahomes on his worst day, then this guy ain't your guy.
Wait, he said, you act like Jim Harbaugh lost 7 times to Ohio State. This is Purdy's first healthy. It's the first time he's getting in the playoffs.
No, I'm talking about the 49ers, not Brock Purdy. The 49ers keep hitting this wall, whether they get to the Super Bowl, can't win.
Right.
Get to the NFC Championship game, can't win. And they kept saying, well, it's because our quarterback is mediocre.
That's why they went after Trey Lance.
But honestly, Brock Purdy just got there. He's have to lose 3 more times in this situation for them to even apply that kind of logic. It's not like he hasn't gotten over a hump. He got hurt last year, and now he's undefeated. Again,
we're talking about who has the most to gain from this Super Bowl, whose legacy would have the most to gain, and maybe for Brock Purdy, whose bank account.
One thing about the Niners, there's clearly, their offense is on fire and their defense is broken. The story of this year, how their defense with all that money is broken is shocking. So they're not even going to look at the offense in the offseason. This is all about the defense. There's no way they're moving off Purdy because What is going on? And I blame Steve Wilks. Honestly, how can you invested even more in this defense in the offseason and you got significantly worse? How did that happen? Brock Purdy, I think they're fine with that if I'm the Niners coach.
Okay, but so now you're good with Purdy also because you don't have to pay him. He's in year 2.
Yeah.
When he gets really expensive, because if he keeps going this way, we know the trend with quarterbacks, they're going to get paid.
Yeah.
You're going to be investing a significant amount in Purdy.
You are.
Okay.
You're going to have to. But also, say, EJ, what was the number you gave for Cousins? 95 over
about
2?
$95 million over 2.
There's going to be, by the time Purdy's up, there's going to be 15 quarterbacks in the league making $40 million a year. It's just a going rate.
Okay, well then put him at the top. Then $60 million for Purdy. Whatever it's going to be, he's going to be right there at the top. He's not going to take 2024 prices in 2026.
Well, my point is he's going to be right there with everybody else. It's not going to be, oh my God, we're paying him $50 million. Yeah, you're paying him $50 million. You're paying Herbert, Cousins. Everybody's going to be getting paid $50 million. It's just the way it is. You don't have a choice, do you? I mean, you can't just let him go and start over.
Well, that's the question. Do you think that if they can't win with Purdy, does Shanahan start looking around? I mean, he did it with Jimmy G, but we all understood because Jimmy G is a turnover waiting to happen.
Well, Jimmy G he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders by 30 yards. I think Jimmy G was clearly limited in a way we haven't seen maybe after 3 years if Purdy can't do it, but definitely not now.
Well, but again, they got spooked by Garoppolo and decided to go all in on Lance. And it backfired spectacularly.
I mean,
we know they have a wandering eye.
That was an example right there. I mean, what's the name? Didn't win. Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he won a lot of games, didn't win a Super Bowl. And what did they do? They went in the draft and tried to find his replacement. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is cutthroat.
That's what I think.
But was Jimmy G ever top 3 in MVP voting? Did he ever lead the league in quarterback rating? Not even close.
They paid him a bunch of money.
Yeah,
they
paid him.
They paid him a bunch of money to come there. It wasn't like they were like, oh, he's just he was like the apple of the free agency that year.
No, they traded him. He took over with 5 games left and went 5-0. And I think they paid him off of that.
Yeah, that was probably a mistake.
I believe that. I might have my dates wrong there, but 855-212-4CBS. See you guys on the phones. We will get to you. We promise. Want to keep this conversation going. Also, why don't we put this out on the social? Who has the most to gain by winning a Lombardi? Is it Brock? Is it Mahomes? Is it Kyle Shanahan? Or other? Fill in your own. 855-212-4CBS. Okay, got it. Continue this Purdy conversation. We also check in with one of the new celebrity head coaches in the NFL next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, the Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serve the Armed Forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. EJ, you picked this one, the Defensive Player of the Week?
Yes, I did.
You better not go anything but football, so we got to choose. It's football, and it's got to be the first game, which was 17-10 compared to 34-31. So it's got to be...
Chris Jones was a menace.
OMENIHU had the strip sack, although he got hurt. But that's too... Chris Jones
Drew
is too
Tranquil
obvious.
was actually
Drew
massive
Tranquil.
on stopping a fourth down conversion.
He's getting amazing reviews as controlling the game.
Deion Bush is the one who came up with the interception.
How about
right?
Spagnolo? Can you make a coach the player of the week? I guess there's
a
no...
little light.
Yeah. Oh, man, this is so hard.
I think it's got to be Chris Jones. Oh,
Can
it could
I-
be Trent McDuffie. He was great.
I'm actually... This is weak. I'm going to agree with Maggie.
Whoa,
We're teaming up on
we're
Chris
aligned.
Jones.
So the defensive player this week is Nick Bosa, who had 2 sacks in the win for the 49ers over the Lions. 49ers defense was struggling at one point, and Bosa really kind of kept them afloat. He had some big sacks that kind of stalled some drives. I think he had a sack on the drive where they missed their first fourth-down conversion. So I thought Nick Bosa, for a defense that was struggling, he seemed to be the only guy that showed up in the first half. I think he kind of kept them in the game. So for me, I'm going Nick Bosa for my defensive player of the week.
Did anyone else? I'm sorry. I was rooting for the Lions. I was screaming, Goff, get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball, dude. Why does Goff take those sacks? But Nick
He's
Bosa.
a statue back.
And Nick Bosa gave a halftime speech, too, which is comical, right?
Yeah.
Because
all right, guys, let's get him.
I'm scared what he said.
No, but yeah, I know. But even if he was impassioned, that guy's never gotten above a 4 on the volume. All right, guys, like we got to execute. I mean, he sounds like a surfer dude from Western New York. It doesn't make any. Nick Bosa's style is so low key.
You know, EJ might be right. He should have gotten Defensive Player of the Week just for one of the sacks with Purdy. He throws him down like it's a bag of mulch or something.
Yep.
He's like, throws it down like, all right, that job's done. Just It's
Yeah.
like the trash.
Also, he comes off that edge, and the guy trying to block, it's like a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Bosa is a factor. By the way, that's an interesting, the X's and O's of that is going to be really interesting. But come on, dude, that game was a shootout. I'm surprised you didn't go with the more obvious game.
I mean, the Chiefs, I thought it was more of a team effort. I could have went with Justin Reed, too. Justin Reed, I thought, had a fantastic game as well. He may be the most underrated defensive player in the NFL.
Good. And he caught Lamar at one point when he was about to break off for, really would have been probably a 70-yard touchdown.
Caught him for a long run, had a sack. He recovered the fumble in the end zone. He's a fantastic player. He can kick field goals, as we know. So I love Justin Reed. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I could have went anywhere.
I think you wimped out because it was too hard to pick amongst the Chiefs, so you took the easy path and went with another team. That's no excuse, EJ.
I mean, look, Nick Bosa is a dog, okay? I feel no shame in picking Nick Bosa as Defensive Player of the Week, given how he played.
We're lucky that EJ didn't pick someone random from the Royal Rumble who came out and
I
threw a chair over somebody's head.
You owe us a story, by the way.
We'll get to that in a moment. Want to hit some of these phone calls because we are asking you to weigh in on who has the most to gain in this Super Bowl in terms of legacy, in terms of reputation, who needs this Lombardi trophy the most. Santiago is in the Bay Area. Good morning, Santiago.
Good morning. How are you guys this morning?
We're doing excellent. How are you?
Good. So I think that Brock Purdy has the most to gain from this. And
Tell us why.
It's really pretty simple. The media has a tendency of nitpicking everything this poor guy does. He's done nothing but one. Granted, he's not the top flight quarterback. I'm not going to compare him to a Patrick Mahomes or a Burrow or anything like that. However, he's done everything that has been asked of him, and he's done it quietly. He's done it, like a team player. But yet it seems like everybody wants to nitpick. Oh, well, he had one bad throw here. Oh, he had one bad half here. But at the end of the day, football is a result game, correct?
Sure.
And he's winning. So I think that if he does win this, I'm hoping that the media will give him just a little more credit and stop nitpicking what he's doing.
Everything he does. Santiago, thank you. And I think you're talking about, I am one of those people who would be accused of being a nitpicker. I hope I'm not coming off that way. I just think that Purdy he's doing a great job, but he's getting comparisons to Joe Montana, and it's that kind of stuff that kind of irks the non-Purdy acolytes, if you will. Let's go. William, San Francisco. Will, what's up, dude?
How you doing, Maggie and Perloff? How are you?
Good.
Best shape of our lives. What's going on with you?
Great. Thank you. I was going to talk a little bit about this Purdy thing. When you talk about him being compared to Montana, I grew up watching Montana.
Yeah.
I was 7 years old watching him. I think what most of this comparison is his way to scramble. He scrambles out of the way. He's not the best runner. He's not the fastest dude on the field. But he's a great scrambler, and he continues to look for the play. That's pretty much the only resemblance that I can see, if anything. And I saw it in his first scramble. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It kind of saw like this. But I think as far as greatness, he hasn't done anything to what Montana is, and I think that's what irks people, myself included. But I think it's his scramble ability. When you guys mentioned, is the Niners going to go anywhere else besides Brock Purdy? They're not. Remember when Garoppolo came in? He came in with 5 games. Man, what happened next? They made him the richest quarterback. In those 5 games.
Yeah, they'll hand out the money. Yeah, right.
And so that's what's going to happen with the Niners. Everybody's going to be up in arms. Everybody's going to go crazy that how did this guy get the richest the contract? He's going to get a big one. And everybody, no matter what it is, everybody's going to hate on it. Everybody's going to talk it. Is he worth it? Everything else, he's going to be worth it, and it won't be the biggest contract for long.
Right. Well, William, and thank you for the phone call and weighing in. The one thing about these quarterback contracts, and I know that they keep going up and up, and that's just sort of the game these days, and if you have a good quarterback, you've got to pay them. But let's not mistake what this does. It leaves your front office with zero room for error. You pay the quarterback, it immediately becomes harder for you to win. And I'm talking about the Chiefs. I'm talking about the Bills. I'm talking about the Ravens. It immediately becomes harder to win. So congratulations, you paid your quarterback. Now you have to ask them to do so much more because they're salary cap killers.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs obviously are able to overcome this because of Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's Andy Reid too. So there are exceptions. Tom Brady was able
Chris
to overcome
Jones
it.
is going to be gone. He almost didn't play this year.
Yeah, I know, but the Chiefs, they lost Tyreek Hill. They seem to be able to replace their pieces. You look at Aaron Rodgers of the Packers, they had to let Devontae Adams walk out the door. I mean, you're right. This is the cycle, but the reality is you can't not. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't just not pay Brock Purdy and bring in somebody else. You could do that. It's pretty radical to me. I do like his point about, I'm sorry, I think this is the last caller.
Yeah, William.
That Purdy runs to make plays. Remember when he hit Kyle Juszczyk on the sideline?
Yeah, beautiful from Juszczyk, by the way. That was like ballerina stuff.
Did you think Purdy was going to throw the ball away? The fact that the guy always, in fact, he's the opposite of a game manager. He should probably be throwing the ball away a lot more. He's always trying to make a play, which is interesting. It gets him into trouble as well.
Andrew Bogish is here with headlines. We see you guys on the phones. We'll get right back to it. Bogish, what's going on this morning?
Guys, let me introduce you to a little-known, non-controversial NBA player named Ben Simmons. His career been derailed by injury, most recently missing 38 games with a nerve issue in his back. But he was back on the floor last night for the Nets.
Marketing, working right, pass out top, broken up by Simmons. He tips it to himself, racing to the other end, and a two-hand slam for Ben Simmons. And that's got them on their feet here at Barclays Center.
Chris Carino, Nets Radio. Simmons, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, 0 turnovers in just 18 minutes, and a 147-114 rout of the Jazz.
Just instinct. I play with my heart and how I know how to play the game. So for me, I just want to find my guys and play the right way.
That's Simmons' postgame on Yes Network.
Comeback player of the year?
Yeah. I mean, listen. Even I didn't think he'd be able to do that in a G League game. Oh, wait, was this an NBA or G? It was Jazz on the road, which is probably below elite G League
Stockton
level.
and Malone were out last night.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, come on.
Knee tendonitis.
Come on.
Thin air in Brooklyn.
Ben Simmons he's got an A-Ride quality. When nobody's watching, it doesn't mean a darn thing. He can actually play okay basketball. Put this in the playoffs, and we'll see how much he stinks.
I love
and
Perloff
it's a
just
lot.
glosses the whole 2009 World Series when A-Rod carried the Yankees to a win, but that's fine.
A-Rod had 700 career home runs. 643 were up 7-0 in the 8th inning. I watched enough baseball to know that A-Rod...
I'll do some deep analytics on that.
By the way, Matsui carried them, because that was against us. Matsui wore down every pitcher. Anyway, regardless.
Well, I mean, wasn't A-Rod the MVP of the ALCS and Matsui was the MVP of the World Series? But still... Anyway, I got to go back and look. Anyway.
Go ahead. Back A-Rod. Back A-Rod and Ben Simmons to see how that works out for you, Maggie.
I just wonder, has anyone checked on our boss? I mean, Spike Eskin is the host of the Right Sturkey Sanchez podcast, is basically at a cottage industry of betting against Ben Simmons at every possible turn. Now, again, it's one game.
One game against the Jazz. They scored 147 points. I think the Jazz were trying.
Stop pretending that Ben Simmons is a bad basketball player.
He's a bad basketball player. He's a worse Robert Covington.
He's a 3-time All-Star.
So here's the thing about Ben Simmons, though. It's not even about what he did on the court last night. I think people believe there was a mental block that he just couldn't play basketball anymore. He was blaming a back issue, or people thought he was making it up, or that he was depressed, or all these things, and that he was just making excuses because he couldn't get on a basketball court. He can get on a basketball court.
Ben Simmons was the floor general of a Sixers team that was winning 50 games every year. He's a 3-time All-Star, All-NBA defensive player, finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Every time he has a game like this, we act like, oh, how did he do this? It's like, well, he's pretty good. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. He just can't shoot, and he's soft.
He might be the only NBA player I confidently think I could guard. He's so bad on offense.
He would crush you.
I got to keep him out of the paint. I got to keep him out of the paint, EJ.
He scored 43 points in the NBA game once. Trust me, he would crush you.
We could somehow
we gotta make this happen.
Have a hidden camera where Ben Simmons shows up to Perloff's Saturday morning basketball run.
There's a guy.
It's in Brooklyn.
There's a guy in my run who could definitely cover him. He's 6'8". He can jump higher than Ben. I'm telling you, Ben would not crush us. We just got to keep him out of the paint.
The way Philadelphia people hate Ben Simmons is almost admirable.
We had to sit there and watch him dribble 40 feet from the basket when everyone in America and Canada knows he can't hit a three-pointer. What are you doing?
And Canada.
Raptors and Grizzlies, even though they are now in Memphis.
Well, I love the argument for Ben Simmons. He can't shoot, and he's soft, but he's a good NBA player.
He's all NBA. Here's a question. I think you just hit on something. Is there a fan base that hates a player more? So, like you said, no one hates a player more than Philadelphia hates Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Can we go all time on some of these?
But
I don't know.
Boston and Kyrie as a whole.
That's
completely. That's much more intense.
It's a little nasty too.
Yeah,
Nets and Kyrie too.
Right.
Kyrie's got a lot of
Kyrie,
X's.
Cleveland.
I actually never see
LeBron in Cleveland, but they've made up, obviously.
Yeah.
Boston and Kyrie is a whole different thing. That even the Nets. I mean, the
That
Nets are
gets
used.
toxic.
The Nets are used to overpaying for older NBA All Stars who fail them completely. That's their thing. But no, Philly doesn't hate Ben Simmons as much as they think he's bad. I think.
Well, they had to get extra security for him when he showed up at the arena last year. What do you mean?
There's
Well, I
definitely
just
some
think-
hate.
But you kind of hated Kyrie because you knew he was so good. It's totally different with Ben Simmons. I think Sixers fans think that he was just bad in big moments, and that's why they're mad at him.
I mean, I think there was a time they thought he was really good because there was a time where if you said, hey, I don't think Ben Simmons can shoot, and maybe that's a problem, Sixers fans wanted to tell you that you were a casual who didn't know basketball. And now we say, well, look, he was pretty good, even though he was,
You should
he had
ask
a mental
me.
issue.
You
Now,
should ask me. Me and my brother David, we've hated Ben Simmons since the day he arrived.
They got
We used to go to the
receipts.
Sixers game and be like, dude, pass the ball. What are you doing?
All right.
OG hater.
We need. I'd be proud of that too. We need a back of the envelope here. Most hated athlete in a city, and not for anything like, Deshaun
Criminal,
Watson in Houston.
right.
We get it. There's
Yeah.
going to be no love lost there. But let's think about that.
Hey,
But
a non-opposing player, somebody that played in the
Played
city.
for your city.
I it's Houston. I don't think they have major issues with Deshaun
I'm just
Watson
saying.
either.
That was the first one I can come up with.
Three juries in Houston let him walk away. Anyway.
Yeah.
One. You want to go? I'm sorry.
No, please.
Okay, one more Simmons note. The Nets say that only once before as a player had the stat line he had last night. Double-figure points and assists, 5+ rebounds, no turnovers, and perfect from the floor. Nikola Jokic did it back in 2018. Last night, Jokic had 25, 16, and 12. The Nuggets beat the Bucks in Doc Rivers' first game, 133-107. Luka had 45 and 15 helpers. His Mavs held off the Magic, 131-129. The Celtics rallying in the fourth for a 118-112 win over the Pelicans, and the Clippers' 5-game win streak ended in Cleveland, 118-108. Chiefs defensive end Charles OMENIHU tore his ACL against the Ravens. He had a career-high 7 sacks this season. Ravens D coordinator Mike Macdonald met with the Commanders yesterday while the Seahawks talked to Lions OC Ben Johnson. The coaches and teams flipped today. Washington and Seattle are the only teams left head coachless. As much as Pearl lacks respect for Victor Wembanyama, he loves him some Connor Bedard. The two phenoms hung out recently. I guess they talked about things, but I can only focus on the pictures and the video of these two. They're both humans, same species, and I'm pretty sure Wemby could just step over Bedard if he wanted to.
How old were you when you were my height? I'm 5'10".
5'10". That's what, 1.78 m, 1.78 m, something. Probably 9.
Nice. That makes me feel good.
I think the conversion to metric on top of his head's impressive, right?
Can he do Fahrenheit to Celsius next?
Can anybody do that?
It's funny. He's probably had to do that a lot as a basketball player because so many, growing up, people were probably like, all right, we don't care about centimeters in this. What is your height, feet? So he's probably had to do that since he was 9, honestly.
All the American scouts coming over to look at him. Yes,
What a smart guy. What a smart guy. Really qualifies for Rookie of the Year, right?
I mean, we got to get this going here.
By the way,
Perloff
when
has
you
to drive
tower
to
over
San
Shaq, Connor Bedard is no problem. I like when you put the tall guys next to Wemby and they look like kids.
Yeah, like Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, is Gobert shorter than him?
Yeah.
So is it? I saw he was listed last night at 7'4". He's taller than 7'4", isn't he? He's like kind of dumbing down to 7'4".
Controversial because he didn't want to be 7'5", remember?
KG.
Yeah.
Little KG Jackson,
KG,
6'11", the one be
Durant.
7 feet. Kevin Durant, another one.
Like, I don't think there's another animal on the planet that has a disparity in size that we can have.
Yeah, that's not just like a baby. Like two adult grown males.
Right.
Yes.
Like, elephants are basically similar in size. There's not 5'1" elephants and 6'10" elephants.
I mean,
It doesn't work that
dogs,
way.
you'll have some.
But those are different breeds.
Yeah, we're all the
I
same
see what
breed.
you're saying.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I know.
You want to know something crazy about elephants? Do you know they're huge? They never step on their own or anyone else's poop when they're walking. How is that?
Well, how do we know that?
A class.
Smart.
National Geographic here on the Maggie and Perloff show.
I went to an elephant sanctuary once.
Yeah, but
They
how do they
never
know that?
step. They never do. They are able to navigate it.
You can't possibly know that. There's a lot of animal facts are like that. I'm like, I believe most of them, but some of them, like, you can't actually know that because you haven't been tracking their foot and poop connection for the
last
eternity.
millennium.
Or the elephants are just roaming free in the wild.
Actually, I think they were prehistoric. Weren't elephants around? You're right. And I'm sure there's probably one clumsy elephant who came along and ruined it for everybody. Just was stepping in poop all over the place.
Also, I wonder
the Ben Simmons of elephants.
No coordination whatsoever.
Also, I wonder how they do in stampedes. That's another
That's
question.
true.
We have to
No
ask.
time to poop.
Right.
Another love of pearls. The fourth-ranked Houston Cougars. They survived
Go
OT at
Cougs.
Texas last night, 76-72. Women's number 9, LSU, falling at Mississippi State, 77-73. In a baseball trade last night, the Mariners getting second baseman Jorge Polanco from the Twins in a 5-player swap. Guys, back to you.
Delta 9's in the chat says, Bogish, there are definitely weirdos out there now staring at elephants pooping.
Yeah.
There's people looking at everything.
True. Like, I don't even believe that we all have individual fingerprints. Like, somebody might have had the same fingerprints as me in the 1400s. We don't know that.
Oh.
People say zebras all have unique stripes. We can't really know that.
Snowflakes.
Yeah.
All
They're
different.
mostly guesses.
I agree with the fingerprint thing. That's a good point.
You think that there actually are two people with the same fingerprint? Like you and who? In the 1400s,
Yeah, who
Dracula?
knows?
Honestly, I think it's probably somebody like a descendant of you, like a relative or like an ancestor. There's no way we all all different.
Hopefully they didn't commit a crime because then you could get implicated.
Well, we're smart. We spread them out.
Over 7 centuries.
Yeah. It's a big turnaround. So there's never any confusion.
Meanwhile, Perloff is watching. You were watching this documentary about the
American
missing
Nightmare.
wife.
I heard about this. Is it good?
The real life Gone Girl. It is amazing, and it's one of the worst police bad jobs I've ever seen. I'm not sure what you call police misprocedures, but they screwed this up so badly.
Incompetence?
Incompetence, yes. It was incredible, and they got sued, obviously, for a lot of money. But basically, this girl got kidnapped, and originally they thought the boyfriend killed her.
Of course. It's always the husband of the boyfriend.
Yes, which I understand.
Who just took out a massive life insurance policy right on her life before. Yes.
But the boyfriend claimed that they were both tied up. Then the girlfriend walked back into her house 3 days later. So obviously he didn't kill her. Then they claimed the girlfriend and the boyfriend made up the whole thing.
Right.
Like Gone Girl.
Sure.
And the police were like, the lawyers were like, you're not following any of the evidence. They're like, have you guys seen the movie Gone Girl? This is clearly exactly what happened. And the lawyers like, that is a movie with Ben Affleck. That's not real life. And they ignored all the evidence that there was a serial kidnapper out there. So it turned out, spoiler, I could tell this. Well, actually, should I not tell
No,
it?
it's new still. Don't.
Wait, hold on. Here's a question, though, about kidnapping
2015, by the way.
But the documentary's new.
Okay, unless you are just like a crazy creep. If you kidnap somebody and you don't ask for a ransom, I'm assuming they didn't violate this woman and then they returned her What did you get out of this if you're a kidnapper?
All three of those things are wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about it. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Well, that's awful. All right.
Unfortunately, you do not watch this with your kids.
Okay.
It turns out kind of tragic.
Wait, don't watch American Nightmare with my kids?
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Listen, parent of the year here, Andrew Perloff.
Right after Dino Ranch.
I was actually watching show. I just did grand jury duty and complained about it, talked about it. I was actually watching it. I'm like, my grand jury would have sniffed out this bad cop work. There's no way the cops would have gotten, like the Vallejo, California cops, they do not hold a candle to New York City cops. They were so stark, raving dumb. You want to reach in your screen and say, are you the stupidest policeman that ever lived the entire time?
I love it. Your grand jury would have sniffed it out. You guys basically are now the new Strike Force 5.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. My jury,
More like
there were
it,
23 of us. 17 of there openly stated to the judge that we hate the police. Like, they never were like, this is Brooklyn. This is not a pro-police town. There's no way this case would have gone the way it did.
Man. Bogish, thank you. 855-212-4CBS. See you guys on the phones. Who has the most at stake in this Super Bowl matchup? Got a lot more. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
question up for you, which is who has the most to gain in Super Bowl 58, whether it's personal legacies, whether it's financial. A lot of ways you can slice this up. Perloff says it's Kyle Shanahan trying to erase the moniker of being a big game choker to being a big game winner. I said I think it's Patrick Mahomes. You win your third Super Bowl in 5 years. We are talking about you with Tom Brady. And can you catch him and gaining on Tom's legacy? And I believe that, EJ, you said Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is definitely one of the responses up there where does he shed the title as just game system quarterback? Does he solidify himself as one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL? Clearly financially. Consider he's making like $700,000 right now. Might get a little boost.
Yeah.
Right in the wallet. Bill's in California. Bill, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Maggie. How you guys doing this morning?
We're doing all right, man. How are you?
My thing is, Brock Purdy, even if he wins the Super Bowl, the national narrative is going to move the goalpost back and this and that. And I don't understand it. I challenge you guys to go back, watch him in college and playing. He plays the same style that he did in college. I mean, he went in a shootout with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. The guy's been a winner everywhere he's been. Tom Brady was 199, so a lot of scouts missed on him as well. And we're doing this thing. I mean, he has outplayed Trevor Lawrence, Chris Fields. I mean, all you guys do is talk about how great they were because why? They're number one picks. Doesn't matter. Do you guys realize that more late round picks do better in the National Football League and go to the Hall of Fame than number one round picks?
Well, not a quarterback.
I don't know about that,
opposite.
but the other thing, Bill, is to be and listen, Perloff is a big Purdy fan. Don't loop him in on this one. He's been very much about it. To me, I think that if you ask me, do the weapons around Purdy raise up Purdy, or does Purdy raise up the weapons? I think the weapons around him make him great. Now, does that mean he isn't a winner? Does that mean he didn't use his legs in keeping the comeback alive on Sunday? No, of course not. But if you're asking me on the whole, yeah, and I'm not going to move the goalposts on Purdy. My thing is about Purdy is if no matter what happens in the Super Bowl, if you think it's the weapons around him that are elevating Purdy, that's not going to change in one game.
I hear you. You know why Brock Purdy went last, right? Last. I know it's funny, last. Mr. Relevant. A lot of undrafted players make the NFL. It's because he's short. And why do you think Drake May is going to be the number 2 pick? Because he's 6'5". The height bias is another thing the NFL never has been able to get over.
What's the hand size on Purdy? You're a big hand size
I think
guy.
9 1/4. Although, I told you there was a big conspiracy theory that they mismeasured his hands because he can't play in the rain. I got that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is 9 1/4 big or small?
9 1/4 is average. 9 1/2, I think, is the dead average. So it's close to average. If you go below 9, it's panic time. You're Kenny Pickett, Tony Romo size.
Okay.
But if you're above 9, you should be okay. But then Purdy has not shown that he's okay in the rain.
So you think this was like measuring at the combine versus the pro day? The pro day is always going to be a little more favorable than the combine.
Yeah, his hand size at 9 1/4 inches, less than ideal, but not terrible. He was 6'0 1/2, 212 pounds. If he was 6'2", he would have been a second round pick. I mean, that's just how it is. So I think they missed on him because of the size, and the NFL still has trouble imagining a short quarterback being that good.
Can I just also, when we're talking about measurables when it comes to quarterbacks, can I tell you what Perloff sent me yesterday? Did he send both of us this, EJ, or did he just send it to me?
What's that?
Michael Penix's hand size?
Yeah, no, just to you.
This is just a random thing that you sent to me. It's like, hey, look out, Michael Penix. He's got like bear claws.
Penix is moved up 20 spots with this hand measurement yesterday. How can 10 3/8? That's all you need. Basically, he should just end the draft process right now, not do any interviews, not run a 40, not throw the ball. 10 3/8 should be the last thing he puts on tape. He did it at the Senior Bowl yesterday. That's massive.
Okay, so you don't worry about his knee injuries, the shoulder, nothing like that. Because the hands are so big, it's overcompensating.
You know how NFL quarterbacks use torque to throw the ball? They need their lower body. Not when you have 10 3/8 hands. You could do anything. He's like
shove the ball.
He's like Dr. J, the quarterback. That is gigantic.
It's like he's throwing a tennis ball out there.
Yeah. And that explains everything. When you watch him throw, it's like, why does he throw such a pretty ball? Because he's got 10 3/8 hand. I mean, if I had 10 3/8 hands, I would be in the G League right now, Maggie. I mean, when you have hands like that,
G
it's
League
easy
player
to be,
ever, by the way.
Yeah. When you have big hands, it's so much easier to do sports.
You know, I'm going to put aside the obvious innuendo jokes there, but is having big hands help you with anything else in life besides dunking a basketball, throwing a curveball?
Yeah, like
opening jars.
Does that help? That's more hand strength, isn't it?
I think the two might be connected.
I think having more coverage of a jar that's tight gotta help.
I gotta tell you, it is. I don't love playing into the gender stereotypes, but my husband always has to open up the damn spaghetti sauce for me. The pickles, it's like women have come so far, we can't get the damn jar open.
I do want to make one thing clear. That the innuendo about hand size, that's absolutely not true. Everyone knows the one indication of that is nose size. So I have a big nose, as everyone knows.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I don't have big hands, by the way. And I'm secure enough as a man to say I got a tiny hand. My combine measurements are not good.
I'm surprised the big nose lobby isn't out there trying to get this rumor.
We don't need to get out there. We know what we got.
Coming up, questions about Patrick Mahomes. Is he already the most talented quarterback ever? We've got that for you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's been on the TB12 method since he was 6. She's on her 3rd scotch. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Counting down to Super Bowl 58, who has the most to gain from winning this matchup? Chiefs, 49ers. Individually, we're talking about legacies. We know they can get defined at this time of year. Welcome to the show, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, yada, yada, yada. CBS Sports Radio on the morning show. So happy to be here. To me, it's actually Patrick Mahomes. I know you can look at the team that hasn't won yet in this 49ers group, and there's been so much success with the Chiefs, Perloff, but to me, Mahomes is the one because you win your 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years, we start talking about you chasing down Tom Brady. You're in a completely different conversation in class than everyone else on this this game.
My argument against that is Mahomes is already there. We already know that he is a miracle worker. He is great, the best quarterback. He's the current GOAT. I guess greatest of all time implies all time. But nobody's doubting he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Nothing's going to change after that Super Bowl. Even if he doesn't play a perfect Patrick Mahomes game, I just can't see walking away thinking anything less of him. So he has nothing to lose. There's so much to gain on the San Francisco side. We'll completely change the way we think about Kyle Shanahan and other players, and Brock Purdy specifically. If they win this game, they go into a totally different stratosphere, where in my mind, Mahomes is already in the highest possible level of NFL player.
Okay, let's put Purdy to the side just for 1 second. We'll get to him. The thing for Kyle Shanahan for me is I think he's already thought of, despite some big game collapses and some moments that have, not gone his way, I think he's already thought of as one of the great coaches of this generation now, because you look at how many people are trying to replicate what he's doing on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I don't even know how much credit he should get for the defensive side, but all of his defensive assistants get hired along with the offensive assistants. So you got like the Mike McDaniels who are in Miami, and then you have the, DeMeco Ryans on the defensive side, and that's been going on and on and on. So to me, Shanahan doesn't have the hardware yet, but he already has the reputation. And Brock Purdy, now let's go to the Brock side of it. I think Brock Purdy, if you believe that Brock Purdy is someone who's being elevated by his weapons, then this game doesn't change that. And in some ways, I'm not saying that Brock doesn't have anything to gain from a Super Bowl. Of course he does, particularly money. But if you are someone who believes, hey, he's got all these great weapons around him, this great team around him, that doesn't change in this one game. If you're somebody who thinks that Brock is elevating all the weapons for the 49ers, then you already think that Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback. And again, this game doesn't change anything for you.
Okay, back to Shanahan for one thing.
Sure.
When Shanahan was sort of mismanaging the clock at the end of the half against the Packers, everyone said, oh, here goes Kyle Shanahan screwing up the time management thing again.
Yep.
And I think that is a stigma that Kyle Shanahan isn't even close to getting rid of. And by the way, I think if it's a close game against the Chiefs, we're all going to say, whoa, what's Kyle Shanahan going to do to blow this?
Well,
kind of like Andy Reid used to be for a big chunk of his career.
You're right about that. I mean, we got to go back to the NFC Championship game. Did Dan Campbell just out Kyle Shanahan? Shanahan.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, so many things had to go wrong for the Lions and go right for the 49ers. And Dan Campbell his coaching decisions have now become front and center to be criticized, not Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. So Shanahan, I think, has a lot to fix there. Brock Purdy, you're exactly right. I do agree that people are going to credit the weapons, even if he has a great game. But people are not, even people who are more clear-eyed about Brock Purdy and realize that he has Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel.
Sure.
If he throws 4 touchdowns and no picks, it's going to be
MVP.
It's going to be unavoidable to at least compare him in your mind to Joe Montana. If he has that, if somehow they go out and just blow out the Chiefs, which seems next to impossible, then it's going to change the way you think about him.
EJ, you've got poll results for us.
Yeah, so we have 2 poll results related to Brock Purdy. So the first one we asked was basically, it was a question about what would happen to Brock Purdy if he wasn't on the 49ers. So would Brock Purdy still be an MVP finalist if he was starting for a different team? 79% say no, 20% say yes.
Wow.
So a lot of people not thinking that Brock Purdy would be the same caliber of player if he was not playing for the 49ers.
Man, where are all the Purdyites to go after the people who voted on this poll? go find them in their Twitter mentions.
At Maggie and Pearl on Twitter.
Well, I mean, a more fair question. Would Brock Purdy be good if he was on another team? Like, would he be good if he was the Eagles quarterback? I think, like, a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. But no, he might not be as great as he is with the Niners.
Well, but that's the question. MVP level. That's what we're talking about here with Purdy.
Because
nobody's talking about that.
He's in the MVP conversation.
He's MVP finalist.
He's a finalist.
Right, but nobody. You keep using. I think you're doing a bit of a straw man. There's not all these people out there saying Brock Purdy's the MVP anymore because he lost to Lamar.
Okay, but
once that loss happened, he was out of the MVP.
That was like week 15.
Yeah, it was late. It was late December.
Right, and guess what? If he had won that game, he would be the NFL MVP. That's just a fact.
Right, but that's why the question is not unfair, because if that's the kind of caliber of player he is with the 49ers, I don't think it's unfair to be like, if he's good somewhere else. Like, no, if he's an MVP player for the Niners, but if you tell me he played for the Cowboys, he'd just be good. That's a major drop off.
Also, how good can you really be if you're getting exposed, if your whole MVP candidacy falls apart because you had one bad game against the Ravens? That means Patrick Mahomes should be the MVP.
This year's MVP race was a wild, wild race where it changed Vegas frontrunner changed every week.
Sure.
Honestly,
but he was in it the whole time.
If Dak had won a couple games at the end, he might have won it too. Regardless, everyone knows that he's better because he's on this Niners team, and everyone knows that Dak's probably better because he's in Dallas. But I don't think it'd be such a. I think where we disagree is I think he could be a 30 touchdown, 15 pick guy on a lot of teams, like 15 teams. Right now he's 36-9, which are something like that. His stats are crazy in San Francisco, but I think he'd be almost Pro Bowl level. He could be Kirk Cousins.
So the second poll we had also was who has the most to gain in this year's Super Bowl. So Brock Purdy came in number 1 here at 61%. Kyle Shanahan came in at 29%, and Pat Mahomes coming from the back here, 9%.
Oh, boy. Okay. So you can go and vote at Maggie and Pearl. EJ, thank you very much. Did you guys know? I didn't know Brock Purdy has a nickname. Daily News in our chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. Big Clock Brock.
Those Brock Party, but.
What do you like better? Big Clock Brock or Brock Party?
Brock Party.
I don't get the clock thing. Big clock? What?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I'm not sure. Can I also bring up something about Brock Purdy where I think, there's a lot of this that it's like, the media doesn't love Brock Purdy, right? The media has something out against Brock Purdy. I guess that's people like me. I think it's kind of the opposite. We love these kind of stories. The media lives for these kinds of stories. Why would we ever want to kick the little guy down? That doesn't make any sense. Where we put the crazy expectations are on the number 1 overall picks. And I'm going to be honest, ask our pal Ryan Leaf about how this works. Because we are, I don't know if Ryan would say we're unfair in judging his career because he's owned up to a lot of his mistakes, but we are so much harder on the guys at the top. Ask Jared Goff about this. Like, ask Taylor Swift. She's getting, basically reamed and not reamed. What am I trying to say? She's getting, people yelling at her, "You're ruining football." Why? Because she's at the top. To punch down, that's not what the media, that's not what we love to do. Maybe some people do. But we love Tom Brady's story because it's in your face. Everyone was wrong and I was right. We love Kurt Warner's story, bagging groceries. We love Russell Wilson's story, transferring from NC State to Wisconsin and then winning a Super Bowl. We love people love Dak Prescott's story until he got sort of logjam here with the Cowboys not being able to get over the hump. We like these stories. Kirk Cousins, what's his most famous line? You like that? Back to the media. Basically saying in your faces, we like the guy who overcomes these sort of stigmas. So I don't get, if it was just a media creation, why would we be accused of hating on Brock Purdy?
You like that? I think, first of all, the media has never liked Kirk Cousins. It has been nearly impossible for them to admit he's good. I think the media does not like to admit they're wrong. And they will follow a lower round draft pick into the depths of hell, criticizing him. Kirk Cousins, for every positive thing that's said about Kirk Cousins in the media, there are 25 negative things because he was a 4th round pick.
Okay, but how do you think Lamar Jackson feels probably today?
So
what do you think people are saying about Lamar?
The thing about the media is they like to raise people up and then tear them down. They like to raise the expectation on a player and then see him fail. That is sort of the media's
We don't
jam.
like it, but that's generally what happens.
It does seem enjoyable. People like to see successful people fail. You mentioned with Taylor Swift. There's certainly that thing. But I think people love to see a guy come up just so we can say, aha, he's not as good as we thought. That's, to me, the most delicious thing to the media.
Okay, but there's something about sports specifically that we do love underdogs. This is like our greatest moments sometimes are underdogs. It's not, number 1 seed wins everything. Congrats, rich, famous people. It's, hey, scrappy team. Every team, nobody believed in us. Hell, Georgia was finding bulletin board material after they were coming off 2 national titles. Like, people love to be the underdog, and we love it too. So I don't think the Brock Purdy assessment has been a media thing.
Actually, and by the way, who liked Russell Wilson? I'd like to see those
His
headlines.
story.
Really? Yeah, there was a moment. Russell has always had a hot and cold relationship with everyone in the world.
No, but
because I think there was this similar thing to Brock Purdy. There was a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, you're getting credit for somebody else's work.
So I think the Russell Wilson thing, we're talking about Brock Purdy and does he have the most to gain with the Super Bowl? I think that people love the story about NC State. They picked Mike Glennon over Russell Wilson. He goes to Wisconsin, has the success there, beats out Matt Flynn, who the Seahawks had just given $30 million to, which was a lot of money back then, and goes to the Super Bowl in the second year and wins it. I think where they turned against Russell was the Malcolm Butler at the goal line. The idea that the team wanted to make him the MVP over Marshawn Lynch, whether that's true or not true. That's sort of how it's been rewritten. And you know who's keeping that alive? The whole Legion of Boom.
There was more to it, too. There was that Sports Illustrated story about how he kept tuxedos in the back of his car just in case anyone wanted him to speak. Russell's personality rubbed some people the wrong way.
He's like a politician, kind of.
But again, I think people love raising up the story of Russell Wilson just so they could criticize him. I think that's, let's face it. It's the media. It's more interesting when somebody fails than when somebody's good in a lot of ways. That's just human nature. Who wants to see somebody who's just consistently good? I think we're so sick of Patrick Mahomes being good. We're psyched that we finally get to see something annoying about him.
Okay, but that's the thing about Purdy. It doesn't make sense then.
Well, we did elevate Purdy. Purdy has been elevated, and now I think everyone's going to want to tear him down. He has become sort of a star in the face of the league.
Okay, so then people like me who I think are more accurately assessing Purdy, we should not be the ones who are being maligned and vilified and called haters. We're the ones who are actually being realistic about this. He's got great weapons around him, and he's on a great team, and he found himself in a great situation. He's done the best. He's done a lot with it. So it's not like he's been some innocent bystander here just along for the ride. He's making the most of his opportunity. But let's not, when you talk about the Joe Montana and how he should be an MVP, that's the Purdy lovers who are actually setting an unfair expectation for him. And what do? We set the expectation and then we rip them down. I think you guys are looking at it the wrong way. The people who are being accurate or trying to be and looking at Purdy with a critical eye are the ones who are actually trying to do him the biggest favor.
Well, I think there's this school of former quarterbacks who's saying you don't understand what Brock Purdy is doing. And I think there is something a little bit there. I think there are subtle things he's doing that he's not getting enough credit for. I think it's just a difference of opinion. I totally understand your take. Listen, I'm not blind. I see Christian McCaffrey standing behind Brock Purdy. But I do think that there are a lot of little things that maybe don't even show up in the stats that he is doing. He's credit for. Honestly, if we're going to have a completely realistic conversation about Brock Purdy, the big fear is he going to get loose and throw interceptions in this game? And I don't care if you're a Brock Purdy Forget, like, that's the key. If you're betting this game, tell me, is Brock, remember that pass against the Packers where it should have been a pick six?
Yeah.
Is he going to throw that ball? Is he going to get rattled and throw that? And even me as a Purdy fan, I don't know which Purdy you're going to get.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, Corey's in Iowa. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning. First-time caller. I've kind of stumbled across this show. I called into the JR Sports Beat last night and whatever. As far as Purdy goes, yeah, he's okay. Anyway,
send that to Jim.
As far as Purdy goes, look, I live in Iowa. I'm a Hawkeye fan.
Sure.
But, Iowa
disqualified.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you need to be a Cyclones fan? Hey, easy.
I think the reason that the media is so critical of Purdy is he's not sexy. He's not
flashy.
He's not flashy.
Okay.
He's not, I don't know how to say it. He's doing what he's asked to do. He's not asked to go out there and throw for 500, 600 yards a game. His role is, look, if you got to hand it off to Christian McCaffrey 80 times a game, do that. If you got to throw the ball to George Kittle, do that. If you got to throw the ball to Deebo Samuel, do that.
Right.
He's working within the system.
Yeah.
And as far as the AFC Championship game with the Ravens and the Chiefs, everybody was talking about, the Ravens is a great defense, great. Blah, blah, blah. No, the Chiefs, they had a brilliant game plan. The Ravens talked all this trash. The Ravens thought they were all big and bad, and the Chiefs said, you know what? Screw you. Kelsey went off. I'm sorry, but when you're targeted 11 times and you catch everything that's thrown at you, I mean, that's like Kellen Winslow against Miami.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
that I don't know how many of you remember that game in '81, Miami, San Diego.
Corey, I think, thank you for the call.
Corey's not up for a little fun Iowa football rivalry.
I thought for a second you were going to hit it with the Caitlin Clark flopped when the fan ran on the
let's get that road. Even like Buckeyes and Wolverines fans can laugh about the rivalry, not Corey. But I do agree. One thing he said,
a lot there. Yeah.
There is not a less sexy quarterback alive than Brock Purdy. If anyone saw his outfit coming into the NFC title game,
Kirk Cousins likes to go to Barnes and Nobles on his off day.
I think that's but Kirk Cousins is actually a pretty good-looking dude. Brock Purdy looks like, he's a choir boy. He looks like he's 17. He dresses like a dad. He's not sexy. Not sexy at all.
Well, what are we using to define this? You can be low-key. I think Joe Burrow is a low-key person. I know he wears the flashy outfits, but we know Jamar Chase is picking them out for him.
Well, at least he has that swag.
Yeah.
He has that swag. Pull up the video.
How are we, what's the definition here? Because I would say we loved Andrew Luck, and there was nobody more low-key than him.
We didn't think he was sexy, though.
Well, what do we define in the terms? How you play or how you look, literally?
Bellatti's sexy. He knows what this is about.
That's right.
Body?
It's a Q rating.
You just know it.
Yeah. You just know it when you see it.
Yeah.
I just know that Brock Purdy, it's like a swag thing. Like Brock Purdy walked into the stadium on Sunday and he could have easily have been a fan going up to the third level.
He's screaming and yelling after the game, not during the game, but after he let out the primal scream.
I'm watching the video now. We got to put it out on social. He could have been a guy who's there to refill the water tanks.
I mean Daniel Jones walks
in
in with a backpack on. He looks like he's going to class at Duke. I would give you Tua's pretty low key dude. He's not really out there being so
Brock
in
Purdy,
his life,
Tua is a sex symbol compared to Daniel Jones or Brock Purdy. Daniel Jones, that's.
You're asking me for he's making $40 million. You're asking me for starting quarterbacks with.
If you're going to do a sexiness scale.
I mean, Geno Smith seems pretty low-key, kind of goes about his business. I don't know. There's other guys who are low-key who we like. Am I not getting the definition right?
I'm still confused by what he was trying to say with sexy. Does he mean how he looks or how he plays?
I think you have to talk how he plays. I don't think we're talking about how he looks. And also, to say that Kirk Cousins is sexy how he looks, that's crazy.
I'll tell you who's a sexy quarterback. Jordan Love is a sexy quarterback.
Really?
In the sense that, man,
The throws.
the throws, the kind of quiet. I just feel like there's a lot of buzz. CJ Stroud has a sexiness to him right now. I'm using sexy more like exciting.
Yes. Okay.
Not like, oh, I want to date that guy, obviously. But I just think there's an excitement. Brock Purdy is just like shows up to the stadium. Hey, I'm Brock Purdy. I went to Iowa State. He's as low key as huge. You couldn't invent a more low key quarterback.
You know, this is where Perloff and I always disagree, though, about these guys. To me, are all stone cold killers underneath.
They are killers, but Tom Brady dated Giselle. Brock Purdy is obviously going to marry his high school girlfriend. You could tell that from 50 miles away.
She's very beautiful. I'm sure
I
she's
know.
lovely. There's nothing wrong with that. 855-212-4CBS.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, that is an it couple. Brock Purdy, he's not sexy. Come on, you know what I'm talking about here.
I was actually thinking about this. I'm going to save it for the break. I had a question off of the Kelce Taylor thing. It has nothing to do with them, but off of that, inspired by, if you will. We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. Oh, man, we got a doozy of a question for you that we'll get to in a minute that we're stumped for, but we're going to need your help. But first, we haven't heard from a friend of ours lately.
Let's check in on Deion Sanders.
Daily.
Do you believe that?
Deion.
You believe that?
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Well, yeah, we haven't checked in on Deion Sanders. Turns out that his sons, Shador and Shiloh, both chipped in and bought him a mansion. So here is some of Deion reacting to this house. And Shador joking that, don't worry, Dad, we can afford it.
You took care of everybody for a long time. Y'all are natural givers.
I'm just looking at the view. Very inspirational. I like it.
Look at that. You know what's awesome though? My 3 sons had the thought process that they wanted me to see this. Because y'all want to make sure I'm straight.
You know I'm good for it, Tom. I mean, we.
Even the kids fighting for credit there. So Deion gets a mansion. I'm trying to find the exact number of rooms and bathrooms and stuff. It's 17,000 square feet. I know that. It's about 15 miles away from Colorado's campus. It is pretty dope. But Perloff, you had a good point about this.
Oh, yeah. That's the last thing you want your kids to buy for you. They have no idea what they're doing. Deion's got a complicated portfolio. The last thing he needs is this tax problem here. And by the way, why would you buy him something in Colorado? Does anyone think that, well, how long is this house going to last? A year?
Maybe it's done for recruiting. It's like, hey, look, he's going to stick around. He's got this big mansion.
He did say his mama's there. Everybody, remember Deion went on that whole thing of why he's not leaving? Maybe this is another thing.
Maybe.
But doesn't Deion have his own money to buy his own mansions?
Yeah, Perloff called it a complicated portfolio. He's got his money locked up. It's a checking and a savings, like Kevin Hart always says.
No. This is definitely Deion immediately. He saw this house. He saw a tax deduction right there.
Yeah, I wonder. I just wonder if your teenage sons, like Shiloh and Shador, are early 20s, right, or teenagers. Those are the last people I would ever ask to pick out a house for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got 5 pools.
Well, you think about
I
it,
don't
though,
need that.
But to be fair, I mean, when we see most NBA athletes, NFL guys, I mean, they, it's only different because it's Deion Sanders. He's a millionaire himself. But most of the thing, what's the first thing you do? I bought my mama a house.
Yeah, I know, but it's the exact opposite. Their mom is not Deion Sanders. I was thinking about that. That's always the great heartwarming story. I can't believe you bought me this mansion. Deion's like, that's like my 47th mansion in my life.
Yeah, you guys can focus on the interior decorating side of this. I don't understand why he needs anyone to buy him a house.
It's a gesture.
It's
Wait
weird.
a minute. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. They went in their pockets and they bought him a house.
Right.
Well, the kindness. I mean,
buy him
that
a
should be
boat.
applauded.
Buy him a car. He doesn't need a house.
A boat may be the worst. Is one of the worst investments
you know what they
you could
say
have, by
about
the
a
way.
boat? The best 2 days when you buy it, when you sell it.
There you go.
What about an expensive watch? See, the thing about the house, again, the taste that you have when you're 20 is not the taste you have. Is Deion 60 years old? How old's Deion?
But to be fair, though, Deion is not like most 60-year-olds.
That is true.
Honestly, if there's anyone close enough to have the same taste of a 20-year-old, it might be Deion Sanders. Remember his theme music was some crazy rap song at Jackson State we couldn't even play for you because how many curses there were?
Totally disagree with you, EJ. Deion's been giving off a lot of dad energy lately. Kind of like LeBron is transformed into a middle-aged dad. Deion's there, too. I
He's
don't
wearing that
think
big
Deion,
necklace that says Prime on it.
I've seen a couple interviews with Deion lately. I'm like, wow, that's a wise, settled, calm Deion. This
Sage
is
advice.
I don't think Deion's like he used to be. Maybe I'm naive, but
Just like, why? I don't need a stripper pole, guys. I'm 60.
I don't think you ever retire primetime.
That's
I
true.
think that's always there.
Maybe kids also buying you, if you're rich kids buying you also a car. Be like, I'm 60. I have missing toes. I don't need a Ferrari. Maybe he does. I don't know. Okay. Bogish in the house.
Liam, I'm still so confused by this. I need a minute.
Why are you confused? This is a
Nice
this
gesture.
is a nice gesture by the kids buying the father a house.
Was he homeless? Was he living in his office in Colorado? I don't understand.
It was a basement apartment in Boulder, okay, and it was starting to leak.
Right? Was it like, does he have Kaplan's old room in Boulder? I don't understand.
Return it. Okay.
These coaches, I mean, they do move very fast. So, like, I'm sure, like, this may be a house more built for whatever he would like. Like, when you move from one place to another, and actually, funny story, a little bit of experience with this, like, my girlfriend's, family was moving from their house from Annapolis, and the head coach of Navy bought their house.
Oh.
But, like, you can't do...
He did or his kids did for him.
No, my point being is that, like, you kind of are, like, beholden to wherever... When you go, you're like, all right, whatever's on the market, I just got to buy. Like, here, maybe this is a house with more time. You had a year in Colorado. Maybe Deion doesn't like his house.
Right, but why are the kids paying? Like, go on a
nice
trip.
gesture.
Wait, so here's the thing. Deion Jr. also said, your life's complete now, Dad. Like, uh-oh, what about the winning? He said, no, we've got to win. That's when it's complete. Your life's complete now. We bought you a 10-bathroom.
You know what he's saying there?
5-bedroom.
He's like, hey, man, this is going to be... Get ready for another four whatever season, because this is going to be this is where the peak is for us.
This is the high point.
This is the high point. I've seen these guys in practice. You better enjoy this house.
He said it almost provokes a tear. Almost.
Yeah.
Listen, Deion's probably gotten a lot of nice gifts in his life. You really got to bring it.
I almost had an emotion over this. Thanks, guys.
I mean, it's not often your dad's won Super Bowls, a World Series, hosted SNL. Deion's covered a lot of ground here. What do you get a man like that? Almost didn't though.
Somehow I'm thinking now of the Wayne's World scene where Wayne gets the gun rack and he's like, I don't own a gun, let alone multiple guns to need a rack. Like, Deion doesn't need another house.
Well, what's funny though
kids.
was that I think Deion said it was like, y'all did all this just so I could see this, and it's just, if you watch the video, it's just wilderness. I'm like, that is all of Boulder. Like, he's been seeing this for a year. I don't know what's different than the view he's had before, but again, nice gesture.
The Miami Heat have never lost like this before.
Why are you so upset about this?
Okay, first of all, you asking anyone that question is ridiculous.
You're getting me angry. You're getting me angry with you being upset at someone buying a house for somebody.
This is going to be the next chapter in Pete's book. Why the hell do I put up with you people?
Pete, you are the last person to in any way dissect what somebody else's anger is about.
A house
that he didn't need.
You don't know that.
I'm pretty certain that Deion was housed until this
He
went
probably
down.
wanted a house in that location, and they bought it for him.
Why? He's Deion Sanders.
It's a different world than us. We don't know that.
Right. So buy him a $55,000 watch. That makes no sense to me. But at least that I would get. Like, you don't buy your dad, who's a millionaire. He's the football coach where they play, and they're buying him a house.
Here's a question. I mean, you really got to Lincoln Riley this thing. Shouldn't the school have bought the house?
There's also that.
You can negotiate that into your
Oh,
contract.
yeah. Professors. Well, Colorado didn't have the money when they hired him, so there was all that.
Maybe
that
that's
detail.
the house he's living in right now.
Yeah. They were like, "Hey, this is the best we could do for you, pal."
It's like it's a loft above the garage, but we'll get you somewhere nice.
The door's like, you know what? I'm going to stay at the student dorms. I'm not loving this right now.
Congratulations to the Sanders family. That's such a nice gift. I really appreciated that. hearing that story. That brings warmth to my heart.
It almost provoked a tear.
So that's the thing. The Miami Heat, again, they've never lost like this before under Eric Spoelstra. 7 consecutive defeats thanks to last night's 118-105 home loss to the Suns. The head coach getting philosophical postgame.
I think we have to focus on the karma part of it. You do the tough things, the physical things, the things that nobody really wants to do in this league. You tend to get rewarded for that.
Have any other coaches said we need to focus on the karma part of it? The Suns, meanwhile, snapped their 2-game slump. Devin Booker scoring 22, 20 from Kevin Durant. They both had 8 rebounds and 7 assists.
That's when you're just out of stuff to say. It's like,
Right.
I've said everything I can say as a coach. Like, what else do I have?
That's definitely a Pat line, too.
Riley?
I can see him saying that.
Yeah.
The Lakers took a 135-119 thumping in
You're right.
Houston. The Kings won in Memphis, 103-94, with Domantas Sabonis posting 20 points and 26 boards. The Knicks took care of the Hornets, 113-92 for a 7-game win streak. And the top 2 teams in the West met last night in OKC.
Off the town screen, here's Nikhil on a drive, got bumped, tough runner, baseline, shot, no, tip, follow up and in. Jaden McDaniels in traffic. Just got the right hand up there and knocked it home. Timberwolves by 6.
And they won by 6, 107-101 over the Thunder, retaking sole possession of number 1 in the conference. You may remember that Draymond Green was not part of the initial 41-player pool for the U.S. Olympic team this summer. Grant Hill left Green off because of his behavior and suspension this season.
When I came into this NBA, and I've publicly said this before, there was 2 guys I was starstruck by. One was Kobe Bryant. And the other one was Grant Hill. I grew up in the state of Michigan, Grant Hill, Detroit Pistons. And so I wish that he would have just said that to me, you know, if especially if you're going to say that publicly. And so it hurt me a little bit, like from a fan standpoint as well. I'm a big fan of Grant Hill. And if I got a call because some guys drop off that list that's just unforeseen for whatever reasons, and then I need to fill a spot on that team, guess what? I'll be ready with my bags packed and go play in the 3rd Olympics because I'm not too big to be second.
That's Draymond on his podcast.
That guy's something
We'll
else.
call you.
I mean, the U.S. Olympic team doesn't need a 34-year-old Draymond Green, does it? I mean, is that what?
By the way,
he cannot be one of the top 12 U.S. players right
They
now.
still do boxing in the Olympics? Maybe call him for that.
Why are you so mad, Pete?
Draymond Green did you hear what he said there? If there's some unforeseen accident that may happen to one of these players,
Cut the brakes in Devin Booker's car.
Yeah, like, I know the NBA's watching him very carefully on the court. But if I was those 40 guys on that list, I'd be very scared of what Draymond Green just
Tyrese Halliburton disappears.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
I'd have someone tasting my food for me before I eat it, and you never know where Draymond can strike.
I think the first half, though, he's right. I think if Grant Hill is going to say he was a bad boy, we left Draymond off, he probably should have had a conversation with Draymond before just saying that out loud.
Does he owe Draymond an explanation?
I don't think he does.
I don't think he needs to explain why Draymond's not in the thing. If he's going to say it, he probably then deserves, like, it's like a retroactive thing. He didn't have to answer the question. He doesn't need to explain why anybody's in or out. But once he does, I don't think that's the right way to handle it.
He could show him that video of that windmill punch.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're Draymond, are you really that surprised that Team USA left you off?
And it's not like-
right, your age, but also look at all the negative headlines you've had.
And this is not a thing where it's like he got cut. Like, every 4 years, they add different people.
Right.
Yeah,
so, like,
younger people.
Right. So, like, I don't think he owed him anything. Like, okay, yes, you won a gold medals for us in the past, but we pick 40 guys every year. They didn't call, some Jimmy Butler, who he might be on the team, some random guy say, hey, we didn't leave you because you only averaged 22 points a game. Sorry, bud. Like, no. You were off the team. They have their reasons.
But he was on the team twice, right?
He was?
And again,
Really?
this is not Draymond starting with complaining from the press release. He's only responding to Grant Hill talking out loud. Like Grant Hill, quote unquote, started this. Grant Hill did not have to explain anything. He could have just said what you said. It was like, listen, the times change. There are different guys who we like, and that explains it for a lot of people who are no longer on the list. He didn't have to call Draymond from the beginning. But to me, if you're going to explain it that way, if you're going to give an actual reason, then Draymond's allowed to respond with the first half of that ridiculous statement.
It definitely was ridiculous second half. I don't have a problem so much with him wanting to be told. I just think that it's naive of him to think that they're going to explain that to him. Again, yes, you've been on the team before, but there are other guys who have been on Team USA. Chris Paul has been on Team USA for how many times? He's not on this list. Was he owed an explanation? Like, hey, you get hurt every 2 weeks. That's why we can't put you on Team USA. No.
Also, the other part is, if you're Grant Hill, you're going to get honest about why he's not on the team. I mean, maybe more people should have been honest with Draymond this whole time, and maybe it wouldn't have come to this, him having to go to wherever he had to go, get an indefinite suspension. I don't know.
What a
I'm
pain.
actually shocked. Do you guys tell me Draymond Green's been on 2 Olympic teams? I had no idea.
That's so
Because he's not that good. He's like an 8-point-a-game scorer.
He's a glue guy.
Yeah, but you don't need a glue guy on an Olympic team, do you? I guess you do. Okay.
Actually, you kind of do. They've had issues where they put too many guys who want to score, and they need somebody to be an enforcer. And boy, did Draymond Green do that.
So, okay, because he's definitely not one of the 40 most talented players in the NBA.
No.
I mean, he's 6'4". I mean,
Going to the Hall of Fame.
Spain's got 7 guys more talented than him.
When he was on the teams, he might have been top 40 impactful players.
But not now, though.
No, but not now.
I was going to say, I've been told that he's the greatest defender of this generation.
Next Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was told.
Yeah.
So, of course, he would be on.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm amazed that somebody that old is still on our Olympic team. How many? Were there 40 guys on this team? Who's actually playing?
I think
they're gonna cut like 30 of these guys.
Yeah, we're gonna get to 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
They need to have tryouts though. That's what I don't like. Is that you're gonna name 40 guys? There's nothing they can do
And
to
guys
improve
won't
their
play.
status.
Except play in the
this
NBA.
year they're gonna play.
No, but it's like it's like asking a famous person to audition
Kobe
for
did
a
it.
role.
I don't accept that. Like Kobe did it, LeBron did it, Carmelo did it, Dwayne Wade did it. Those guys had tryouts
I know,
when
but
Coach
EJ,
Mike Krzyzewski was doing this.
Do you think they really were in any danger? Do you think Kobe was getting cut from the team if he mailed in the tryout?
No, but I'm saying though, like there was a time where you tried to put a roster together and it made sense. It wasn't 40 guys, but they had about 25 guys, whatever, and guys had to work for it.
So, honest question, I think the calendar is the problem here because the finals end and then you're basically going right to Paris. So I don't know when you would have had tryouts. They would have probably been last year, but last summer they were doing the World Cup, which is I don't know that if that's always the year before an Olympics.
Right.
So I don't know when they would have done the tryouts. But the tryouts are the NBA season, which seems pretty fair to me.
Well, so I don't think it's fair at all actually because international basketball is totally different than the NBA. And 2, they did do tryouts. It was a very short time period because your season, the tournament, the playoffs end in June. You got the Olympics in August. So July, usually you have your training camp, and that's where they would decide. They probably cut the list down by then to about 16, 17, and then they cut the last 5 guys.
I like Maggie's image there, like LeBron trying out. There's 2 assistant coaches. Hey, what do you think of this LeBron guy? You see this guy? See how fast he is? I think he's going to make it. He's a player. I mean, evaluating Kobe Bryant in the tryout.
I also just think I can picture the guys having to stand at a line and there's like a piece of paper up on the wall 10 feet away. And it's like, all right, go find your name. Like LeBron's looking to see if he made it.
LeBron, yeah.
The Commanders' brain trust is in Detroit today to speak with Lions coordinators Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn about being their head coach. Ravens D coordinator Mike McDonald has his second chat with Seattle today. And Andy Reid responding yesterday to Kadarius Toney's profane rant on Instagram on Sunday. Toney said the Chiefs are lying. He's not hurt. KC ruled out Toney for the AFC title game with hip and ankle problems, plus personal reasons. Toney has not played since Week 15. Reid says the wideout is definitely hurt. And in Canada news, the Blue Jays reportedly close to signing veteran infielder Justin Turner, and the Senators went from a 3-0 hold to a 4-3 win over Nashville. Claude Giroux scored the OT winner. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thank you so much. Coming up, see you guys on the phones answering our questions about Brock Purdy, but also we check in on maybe the last person we thought would be a candidate for America's team and that coaching staff. We'll get to that next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. We had a question, I think it was off air. Is there anybody that you can date as a professional male athlete to rival Taylor Swift?
Right. Like,
So-
is Kelsey already just...
Is he the GOAT of this?
Yeah.
So I would think of Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe. Is there another Marilyn Monroe or Taylor Swift? So I pulled up something a little more scientific. The Forbes list of the 100 most powerful women in the world.
Oh, wow.
So Taylor Swift is 5. Beyonce's 31 and Rihanna's 74. Now, Beyonce and Rihanna are taken.
Okay.
So I don't think anyone's going to date them. So they're out of the conversation.
So for entertainers or
Yeah.
singers, you're saying
I don't think. I think you're
What
going to
about
have to
another walk of life?
another walk of life. That's why I think when an NFL quarterback walks up with 77-year-old Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen, it's going to be fire.
Wow.
So I'm looking at this list. It's slim pickings. We have Ursula von der Leyen, who's the head of the EU bank. She's number one.
I mean, and probably a fox.
She's totally hot. Then we have, actually, the Giorgia Meloni is the head of Italy.
Oh.
She's pretty cute.
I think she's a little polarizing, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there are no other entertainers here. Oprah. Now, is she?
She's been with Stedman forever. How dare you?
Yeah. Oprah is 31 on this list. Used to be higher. There is not a lot of celebrities on here. For some reason, Barbie is number 100 on this list. I don't know what that means.
No,
I think
not Margot Robbie. Just Barbie.
yeah. How about that, Margot Robbie?
I don't know if she's married.
It's really hard. I was thinking. You mentioned one, Olivia Rodrigo, is very popular amongst the young set.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be the same type of thing.
No, damn, Taylor. I think, though, now that this has worked so well for the NFL, there's going to be an appetite for more celebrity couples.
So who would Margot Robbie be dating? It's like
Zach Wilson jumped to mind. All these
walking
women.
with Puka Nacua? Like, I don't know who it's going to be.
To make this work, all these women are older on this list. Zach Wilson's going to need to step up his game and date. There's a lot. Oh, how about the woman who got divorced? She's very high from Jeff Bezos and has $50 billion. That'd be something.
Buy the team.
It's going to be hard. I hope that Taylor didn't end this for everybody. Now people are not going to want to date celebrities.
Well, you think that there's a possibility that the Chiefs win, he's going to get down on a knee and propose.
Yeah, there's odds. You could bet on that in Canada, not United States. It's like 400 to 1 that he proposes.
See, I don't see them doing that.
So I got to keep it 100, you guys.
What?
I don't think most athletes really wanted to date Taylor Swift.
Well, that's possible.
And so, I think when you come to the Travis Kelce, I mean, look, he's winning. I mean, no question about that. Taylor's a beautiful woman, fine. But knowing professional athletes, what they look for, I don't think that many of them would care.
Well, a lot
about
of them like
dating.
money, though, EJ.
A lot of them have money.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. If you want to make it to the Super Bowl and you want to get in good with the scriptwriters,
well,
better be dating somebody pretty freaking famous, because Taylor, there's all these metrics about, I kid obviously, but there's all these metrics about how much money she's making for the NFL. Like in advertising and how many more people are watching the games and the different demographic that's watching the games. So if you want to get to the Super Bowl, your star player better start dating someone famous.
I feel like we polled all the NFL players and said Taylor Swift or some Instagram model. That Instagram model is winning.
Well, she's already taken 100%. By Zion. I'm just kidding.
I do think
he's cornered the market on all of them.
I do think that there is I think Taylor Swift's fame is appealing to certain people, to men. I think there's something about dating a really famous person that I think and I think same works for women and men. I just think fame is an aphrodisiac. Give me a name, EJ. Somebody famous, not an Instagram model.
Someone famous, Sydney Sweeney.
Pretty good.
I think most players would rather date Sydney Sweeney, 100%.
I mean, she's got all the outwardly assets that men seem to covet.
Be keeping it real.
Let's get to our Cowboy Quickie. All right, got to update you on the latest of the Cowboys coaching searches. We know Mike McCarthy's staying, of course, but Perloff, did you know that Ron Rivera could be in the running for defensive coordinator if Dan Quinn gets hired as a head coach elsewhere?
I love it. Go back to my buddy Ryan days, Ron Rivera. Actually, I don't love it at all. I don't know what what they're doing here. That, to me, for some reason, Ron Rivera just lost a lot of his credibility by sticking around the Commander so long.
Well,
just the stench of that franchise.
You know?
I know. I have trouble separating the man from Washington.
Listen, they've gotten an up-close and personal view of him coaching in the division. Here's my question. Are we sure Dan Quinn's getting hired? Because the two hot coordinators, Mike McDonald, the defense coordinator of the Ravens, and Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, are like doing interviews with the Commanders and the Seahawks, and they're the only two teams left.
Yeah. No, I have no idea why. It seems like, why would you hire Dan Quinn after his last game? Feels like Dan Quinn is down. Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald are up.
But do you think that Dan Quinn would return as defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, or is he?
I think they said he was coming back if he didn't get a job. Wasn't that a report?
I don't know. Do you think they would want to move on totally? That doesn't make sense to me, but they did have a very disappointing loss to the Packers.
What's your reaction to Ron Rivera?
Listen, I think defensively, I think he put together a good game plan. Something was wrong with that Washington defense, though. That's your Cowboy Quickie.
Wait, when did he put together a good game plan?
Well, I mean, they had some good defensive pieces until they decided to trade some of them away.
Oh, God.
But Chase Young, I know.
Oh.
Okay, but look at Montez Sweat. This is amazing. Turned around the Bears season.
Give me. I take Kellen Moore from the Cowboys at the Eagles rather than Ron Rivera with the Cowboys.
Interesting.
Let those two dudes go head to head.
Dan Quinn, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, not coaching this year. Doesn't look like. That's a shock.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn's still interviewing at least.
That's
the other guys seem sort of dead in the water.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Bellotti. Thank you to Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Weedos, Coffee Drinkers, Callers. You guys rock today. Thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.